All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of season 2, week 1 in the books of the LCS. LCS 2020 kicked off. The three of us here to break down the action with all the weird changes in the jungle. Senna is your premier AD carry. What the hell's going on? Dom, Loco, myself here to break things down. Guys, how was the week that was LCS week 1?
I think it was one of the worst week ones I've seen in terms of like overall skill level. Like I thought that the games were super messy. Almost no team looked good. I mean, I guess Dignitas looked all right. They probably looked the best, but I'd say that everyone looked like way under my expectations for the first week.
I was gonna say the same thing. I felt like the levels were really low, and I was gonna say one team looked really good, and I was gonna say Cloud9, not Dignitas. I'm surprised you don't have Cloud9 up there for one of the teams that looked good.
Yeah, I don't even think Cloud9, like for me, I don't feel like Cloud9 looked that good in terms of like their early game. Like it feels like they just were playing versus teams that didn't know how to extend the game. Like I believe they were losing the first. They were losing the game versus Golden Guardians like early with the Rek'Sai Aatrox top into Camille.
Yeah.
And then they ended up just like getting it thrown to them. Like they played TL, which TL looks really not so good with Churnfire, and then Golden Guardians is probably the worst team in the league. So I wasn't super impressed with how they played.
Wait. If we're gonna talk about like how people looked in the early game, Dignitas had Aphromo like into the river because Grig called for a scuttle when mid didn't have prio, and then they checked into Herald where they couldn't get vision on all the brushes, and then they got 4-man Cassie ulted. Like luckily everyone dodged backwards, and they only had 2 people get killed in that. But like if you talk about bad early games, I feel like Dignitas' bad early game was much worse than C9's bad early game.
I feel like C9, like they just should have. I felt like C9 should have been way further behind with the mistakes they made. Like Dignitas definitely like made mistakes too. I mean, but this is like what I'm saying. Like none of the teams look good. Like maybe C9 looks slightly better than Dignitas. I don't know if that's the point you're trying to argue, but I think that they all just look horrible. So
well,
it really doesn't matter.
But before we dive into telling who's worser than who, let's reel it back in a little bit. We have a couple things to chat about. Dom, before we kicked things off, you were participating in Twitch Rivals. You and was it Emblos, the Monster Boss Legends of Swag, got yourself to day 3, the playoff day, but it was through tiebreakers. You guys finished last place in your group. Tell us about how the Twitch Rivals experience was.
Well, I'd say Twitch Rivals is like pretty fun overall.
Yeah.
It's not super serious. I don't know why they decided to do it like with a draft this time and without a draft last time. I think that's kind of weird. Like I feel like if you're doing like a bunch of like one-trick streamers and stuff, there shouldn't be a draft, because then you just like get better content. It feels like. Well, yeah, I mean it's like when you look at like last Tyler 1 team, they get to play Heimer Riven every game, but this time it's like not as viable to play those champions. I think it's pretty fun, but yeah, I don't know. I think that getting that experience, like, I was like ahead in most of the games that I played, right, as jungle, and I wanted to look at like LCS games and LEC games and saw how like their junglers carried the games. And what I learned from it is that actually I think jungle is just in a really bad spot competitively right now. I think the amount of experience you get is so low that like even when you're having like a good fucking game, like I know we're going to be talking about only LCS, but like in LEC, right? You have Skeens versus Shadow. He's 4-0 on Rek'Sai versus Jarvan, and the Jarvan's like 0-2-1. He's 4-0-3, and it just feels like impossible to like have an effect on the game past early. So yeah, I was just like pretty like surprised by how hard it feels to like get a lead through jungle. Like,
did you see the Pro Player Anonymous survey results?
Yeah, but I assume that was before the season.
And they still play scrims like going into it, right? And like they play the entirety of preseason, and that's like the patch we're on.
Well, I mean, I think that this is just like a situation where like everyone who doesn't play jungle, like I would like to see how many junglers voted that they think that jungle is the most OP role versus like people, because I feel like this is just what it is, right? Like this is the worst jungle has ever been, without a doubt, right? This is the weakest jungle has ever been, and there's still people that think that jungle is OP, right? Like there's still people that think that jungle is good. And I think that jungle will just always be good in the minds of bad players. So I'd also like to see like the breakdown of like top teams, like who voted for what, right? Because if it's like bottom tier, like LCS players.
These are LCS players. Even when they're bad, like they're still like such a high percentage of the
But there's a huge difference between like a player that's good in LCS and a player that's bad. Like a bad player in LCS is like dog shit on the bottom of your shoe. Like a good player is like fucking the Messiah. Like it's just There's a huge difference. I would like to see like the breakdown of that. But I mean, I think that just generally speaking, because jungle can gank in the early game, people will just always think that it has impact. And I think that like if you watch the LCS games, like which games did you think were like decided by jungle difference? Like I didn't watch any games and I was like, damn, this jungler fucking carried the whole goddamn game.
I don't think it's never felt like that. I think it's impossible for jungle to carry later on, but jungle impact in let's say the first 10 minutes remains like high as ever because the predominant jungle style is hitting level 3 and then just ganking much as possible while taking your efficient camps and fighting for scuttle, right?
Yeah, that's definitely like the way that it should be played, but like realistically, it doesn't seem like the objectives mean anything anymore. Like people, I think that just like the way that the game is right now, part of like jungle being dominant was the priority on Dragon. Mm-hmm. Dragon was a really good objective before. If you're winning jungle, you get a kill, you translate that to an early Dragon. That used to be a situation where it was like, oh shit, this guy got an early Dragon. That's 10% AD and AP. Like they're scaling throughout the game. Like it mattered a lot more. Whereas like right now, Dragons by themselves are almost useless. Like there's still, I think, an over prioritization on Dragons from LCS teams and LEC teams because it just naturally feels like that's how the game should be played. It feels like, oh shit, we get this neutral objective, it's good. But what I've noticed like the better teams doing is just prioritizing Rift Herald and just gold more. Like if you go top and you get like you get a kill and a plate, or like you get a kill and 2 plates and the enemy team just gets Dragon, I think that's a win for the team that gets the kill and 2 plates every time. Like the Dragon by itself, if you look at like 4% AD and AP, if you're in Elise, you have 22 AP, right? Like your first clear, you get the Dragon, nice, 23 AP. It means absolutely nothing. And people, I think, are just like psychologically so conditioned because of how the game was before to prioritize these Dragons because that always felt like it was the right play.
Yeah.
And I feel like now teams have to like adapt to this new map, like the new style where it's like, fuck the Dragon, swap your bot lane top as soon as the turret armor goes down, get Herald and play for that.
Going back onto more jungle impact, if you think, or in terms of like the roles that have the most impact, so LCS players voted something like mid 43%, jungle 42% or 40%, and then like support 10%, and then I think it was
mid was number one, right?
Yeah, mid was number one, but it was 43. Here you go, I have it. It's 43% mid, 40% jungle, 10% support, 4.7% bot, and 1.2% top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, then where would you put jungle?
Right now?
Yeah.
I think that jungle and AD are the worst 2 roles in the game for competitive play.
I think the worst roles.
Not the worst roles. Mm-hmm. I think AD is still strong, but AD doesn't have agency, which is another problem that I have with the game right now, is that I think supports are way too tanky for doing nothing. Like, if you look at the meta, there's no skill expression bot lane anymore. Like, the best metas to watch as a viewer are, like, Thresh vs. Morgana, like, Blitzcrank lanes, fucking, like, Zyra lanes, things like that, where there's, like, a lot of kills, there's a lot of action, like, people have, like, abilities to kill each other. Right now, the meta in bot lane is you pick Aphelios or Senna or Varus, which are super long-range ADs, and you literally just match that with any of the tank supports, Braum, Tahm Kench, Leona, Nautilus, and no one can kill anyone bot lane ever. Like, that is just the situation. It's like MF, Varus, Senna, and Aphelios, and then you just pair those with a tank support, and no one can kill anyone ever. And, like, AD carries can't really show skill expression. Like, almost every single game is, like, even farm bot lane. Mm-hmm. It's just even farm bot lane, and no one can kill anyone. And then the support's first item stone plate these days, and then they can't be killed in a team fight. Where it's like, damn, you don't actually get to like fucking play the game if you're AD or jungle. Like, because jungle like just falls off so hard. Lanes are pretty hard to gank. Like, the champions that are being picked right now are pretty easy to survive ganks with. Like, there's a lot of like champions like LeBlanc mid, which obviously you can set up a gank with LeBlanc, but it's not like the best champion. There's a lot of Rumble. We saw like Lucian mid. It just seems like at max, a jungler is getting like 2 kills before 15 minutes. Like, that is like the most that you're seeing. Where I feel like the metas where there's more like there's aggressive junglers, but there's also aggressive supports. Like, that's where you get really like good games out of, or you get like these dominant performances where it's like, holy shit, like I want to see like Rakan versus Thresh bot lane. That's what I want to see.
From my knowledge, Riot does take an active hand in balancing the game, so it's more viewer friendly. Some of the things they think about is, are tanks top really good to watch? If Riot felt like tanks top were good to watch, they would balance the game towards there being tanks in top lane. Like, they really do think about balance in terms of like, what does the end product look like in terms of watchability, not just balance. Because if you have a meta that's all Lee Sin and Elise, right? Like, almost all the games have Lee Sin and Elise in them. Despite them being OP, it becomes a very watchable meta. And Riot's actually really happy with that. And they want to make sure the meta looks like that going into big tournaments like Summer, Playoffs, Worlds. So I don't think we'll ever get tank top like really dominating the meta again. And the only tank top that's being really played right now is Ornn. And that's more so like that champion being like giga OP than it's like.
Well, I think that it's more. I think it's more than champion being giga OP. I think that the nature of the game is like really stalled out now. Because like I said, there's like no kills that go down bot lane. Junglers fall off really quick. And Baron is a lot harder to take now because there's no Mountain Drake anymore. And just in general, like if you look at the way teams play around Baron, like teams just avoid it. Like even when they have control, they avoid starting the Baron until they're like 5-6 items. Like no one touches the Baron. So because the games are so stalled out, Ornn has more value because eventually, like if you watch the TL versus TSM game, it's like, oh, now Ornn just has items for the team. It's like level 15. They're up 1k, but they're actually up 5k because of the Ornn items. So
I agree with the point you made regarding like Baron being impossible to take and the games being stalled out. But when I watch the other regions, especially when I caught a few games of LEC, it just seems like it's so much faster and it's more of an exclusive NA problem where the game is like so extended.
I feel like there was some LEC games that were like fast paced, but it wasn't like fast paced in the same way as before. Where they're like where you feel like you can like 3 or 4 man Baron, or you can like make a play bot side. It's like, oh, they're ganking our fucking bot lane in 20 minutes. Let's start the Baron. It's more like they play like MF Leona and like engage a lot. I mean, there was a lot of stalled out LEC games too. I mean, we had like Vitality and fucking I think it was Vitality and Schalke, or no, Vitality and SK went to like 55 minutes. Even like the game where Upset like shit on the enemy team with Senna, right? Like the one where he was just fucking hard popping off. He's like 10-0 at the end of the game. Even that game, they didn't even they didn't even take the Baron until the game was over. Yeah. They're literally just playing for like Senna scaling. They're playing for like all these situations. Like it just seems like it's so hard to do Baron now because like blue trinket and then just the fact that supports can face check so easily. Like before it used to be like risky. It's like, oh shit, like, there's a Thresher or Morgana on the other team. We can't face check this. When it's Braum versus Tahm Kench, people aren't that afraid of checking like brushes and stuff. And because junglers are just like bots at that point, it's not like, oh shit, like this, we might walk into like a level 15 Elise. Bro, junglers are not hitting level 18 in like 70-minute games. That's how bad jungle experience is. Like people are not like, can you imagine playing a role that's supposed to be farm and carry orient? Like it's supposed to be a role it's supposed to be one of the 4 main roles, and support's supposed to be the support. Like that's the way that jungle is supposed to be, but it doesn't function like that. People take all the jungle camps off cooldown, and because of that, like junglers understand that like their champions don't scale well naturally. It's just these people just end up like getting fed to the fucking wolves. Like I think it was like 35 minutes, and Dardoch was level 12 in the last TSM game, and that's with a Zillion on his team that's like leveling him up too. Like it's really pathetic.
I generally agree, but I think jungle rules should look something like this, where you have like incredible high amount of impact in the early game due to your gank potential, and then your impact's going down and down and down like as the game goes on, unless you're on a specific like very farm heavy jungler like a Master E or like a Shyvana.
Yeah,
like that's how I think it should look. I don't think it should be another carry role. It should be like a very impact heavy role early and taper off as you get later into the game.
The difference is right now it doesn't taper off, it like dies off of a cliff like so hard. Yeah, like it doesn't actually matter what you do. Like you can say like, oh, jungle impact whatever. Dude, I played so much of this role, and it's literally just like if the laners on the enemy team are good enough, your jungle impact really doesn't matter. Like the people the only way that I saw like jungle really impact is when Wiggly just hard inted versus Santorin, like flash EQ'd, and like he actually like that right there. That should be an indefinite ban. At least a 2-week. At least that needs to be a 2-week. Like I don't want to see him on LCS stage after what he did. Like that shit is the most reportable thing I've seen in a pro game in a long ass time. That was funny to see Jat try and explain it and break it down, and it was inexplicable. That was
CLJ's bringing a lot of pain.
We'll get to those Thieves later. All right. Yeah. So Dom in the jungle and his jungle spiel to kick things off. Yep. The other thing that got kicked off, brand new this year, was the new format. So we talked about it last time a little bit with our predictions. Now we've had it. We've had the Academy Rush. We had the Bud Light Lounge League. We had Monday Night League yesterday. League all over the place. Monday, did it feel weird to have League on Monday? How is Academy Rush for you guys? What are your thoughts? That
literally just gave me anxiety watching Academy Rush. Like I swear to God, that's just like you can't follow what the fuck is happening. It's like fight, here's another fight. Like, what's happening? Like, you don't know what the fuck is going on in any games. Like, I feel like that is literally just for like only brain dead viewers. Like, you have to be super brain dead to enjoy that format. Like, and not care about the status of anything and just be like, oh, that looks cool. Oh, that shit's shiny. Like, you have to be super, super, super brain dead to enjoy Academy Rush. Like, that shit was awful to watch.
So Academy Rush is based off of NFL Red Zone, but traditional football or American football has this thing where you stop and then you go. There's a very definite, like, the play hasn't started and then the play starts. For League of Legends, the game never stops. There's a flow to the game, and there's a lot of contextual things you need to keep up with. Items, which part of the map, who has what summoner spells up, what level is this guy, like how are these two team comps interacting. And when you take all those context out and then you just keep showing multiple plays, it becomes so hard to follow. And one thing that was really weird for me, they did fix it towards the end with Dash kind of taking over. They had individual casters casting each individual game, and you're just thrown in there. I thought they would have like a central cast team, and then like they would ease us into it. Like they would explain to us like, hey, this is what's going on here, or this is what's going on here. Like this is the context for it, but it's like hop after hop after hop. It's like someone else is like changing the remote and changing the channel on me as I'm watching TV.
It was for Academy Rush. I didn't think it would be so jarring. I actually felt a little sick how quickly it was changing, and how it was so difficult to figure out what was happening, even with Dash trying to kind of lead us into it. I went to LCS on Sunday, and I ran into the future of North American mids, Cat Evolved, who's playing for TSM Academy. I said, hey, man, congrats on kicking things off yesterday. And he's like, we lost. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, I didn't even know. I didn't even remember that they had lost because of how quickly the transitions were and how unimpactful each game felt. Yeah. So maybe if they go 2 games at a time, and so you're following one, and then you can do the context thing with the other, and then you do that twice rather than all 4 at the same time. But just the switching and the swapping was just way, way too much for me.
Yeah, also like just the game of League of Legends, like Logo said, is like a lot different. So in NFL Red Zone, like I feel like the value of NFL Red Zone, at least for me when I used to watch it, was fantasy sports, right? So like when I play fantasy football, and NFL Red Zone is like it's just points versus points. That's how that game works, right? You have more points at the end of the game in football, you fucking win. League is not like that. It's not like whoever has the most kills at the end of the game automatically wins. There's so much in terms of like things that happen that are impactful to the game that aren't flashy, where when you only show like fights or you only show like flashy things, you might not have a realistic perception of how the game is going. Whereas in football, generally speaking, you're like, oh, this team scored. You can just like understand like, okay, so this team is like, what's the score? Okay, they're now winning. Whereas like you can see a fight in TSM Academy's game, right? And it's like, oh shit, TSM Academy just won that fight. It looks like they're winning. Oh, but you didn't have time to soak in all the other factors. Like, what is the gold in the game? Who has Baron? Like, who has the dragon stacking? Does this other team have like an Infernal Soul win condition? Does the team have like Ornn items coming online soon? There's so many different things that impact the game rather than just points. So yeah, I just think that in general is just annoying for a viewer.
Yeah, contextually, League just has so much where it is really hard to watch like this. I think the other example people are going to bring up is like, what we watch highlights and we watch mad movies all the time of professional League of Legends player, but that's very different because it's showing you like an isolated perspective and you know exactly what to follow. Like you're gonna watch a good Akali do constantly good Akali things. Like this is completely different.
The other thing I just thought of this was the rise of fantasy. Like LCS fantasy started to fall by the wayside, so there are other platforms where you can play fantasy. Then Academy Rush could help if you're playing Academy Fantasy League.
You
get the kills.
We need LCS fantasy. We need official Riot LCS fantasy before you even start talking about Academy fantasy.
Honestly, I think fantasy is just like pretty trash for League in general, because people like obviously. So the difference obviously is that like in fantasy, like points are all based off like kills and stuff like that. I mean, you get most of your points for kills and assists, more than you get for like turrets or like whatever. So it's like I feel like if players play well, but they don't have good score lines, they just get random shit for having like bad fantasy. Like when I played for Curse, right, we always had really fucking long and messy games. So that was really good for fantasy because our games were just like kill heavy, like throw fests, right? So people would get mad at like some players that were on like better teams. Like for example, Amazing had worse stats than me in season 4 in summer. People would get mad because they're like, oh, he's supposed to be like this like a godlike player, and he's on one of the best teams. It's like, yeah, he doesn't get the chance to get like, because like I would end games that would be losses with like 23 assists because we'd have such like a fucking fiesta, but they would win cleanly in season 4 for TSM, and then like I would see like Amazing would talk to me. He's like, oh yeah, I got like a couple death threats because I only got like fucking like 2 kills that game. It's like, dude, that's just good fucking league. Like you don't always have to kill your opponent a million times to have good league. So I just feel like in general, it's not really like that connected to how the game is really played.
Doesn't that happen in fantasy football also?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
some players
and
are better players, but some players are better fantasy players.
Sure. Some players are better players and some players are better fantasy players, but in general, like you're going to be trying to score as many points as possible all the time. Whereas like in league, you're not always going to be trying to score as many kills like as possible. Like obviously there's going to be times where you like run down the clock like at the end of the game, or you're just like you have a massive lead, so you like maybe you have a receiver and they have a massive lead, so they're just trying to like run down the clock, etc. There's different situations in football where like you're not going to get the same amount of value out of a player that's really popping off, but at least in like the first 3 quarters of the game, normally there's going to be like players are going to be trying to like score as much as possible, especially like quarterbacks, etc.
For sure.
What's the Bud Light League Lounge? I actually have never fucking seen that, so I don't even know what it is.
I don't know what it is either.
Do you remember after like on
oh
Sunday,
god, don't tell me it's
Sunday
some like
cooldown.
executive shit.
No.
I remember Sunday night cooldown. It's the Scion rush thing, like the Scion.
Yeah,
Scion
the Scion Speedway and all that stuff. So it was after Monday Night League, Monday League night, whatever it is. It was Avali and Riv were sitting, and they had Apollo and Hakuho because they're on the same team, but they're not a duo anymore. And they just sit and talk, ask some questions, work with chat, play some games, did some trivia. And then
man, I don't watch that shit.
So they basically made a segment to sell to sponsors. That's literally what that is.
Well, they always had Monday Night Cooldown or whatever that.
They never had Monday Night Cooldown. Monday Night League wasn't a thing.
Sunday, whatever. LCS Cooldown. That's what it is. LCS Cooldown.
So it's LCS Cooldown renamed.
Mm-hmm. That's what it seems like. So there's that, and then Monday Night League. How'd you feel about just the format and Monday Night League? So now we had 4 LCS games. Saturday, Sunday, the Academy games, which it seemed like most of the fans were gone by the time the Academy game went on Sunday, like in the stadium. And then Monday Night League, how did you feel about this spread out schedule?
So the fans being gone on Sunday and Saturdays, that's very normal. I think peak LCS game is game number 2 or game number 3. So if you're a great team, and you're a popular team, you'll play mostly game number 2s and game number 3s. And if you're a bad team, you'll get a lot of game number 5, 4, and game number 1. So like Academy, people rushing out like as Academy starting or people not being there is completely normal. As for Monday Night League, I know it's bad on the players and it's bad on like the staff and bad on like all the teams involved. But I think Monday Night League long term is going to be a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I mean, I enjoyed it personally. I know that a lot of people were complaining because the viewership was like lower than it was on the weekend. Like people would think that TL versus TSM, right? They're like, oh, what? Like if they played that match during like Sunday, for example, when the LCS stream had 140K views already, like they probably would have had 150K plus on that matchup because it's such like a hyped matchup. Obviously, it's without Broxa and like the teams are still getting into form, etc. But like I personally enjoy like watching it. I think that 5 games in one day is like kind of a lot. Like I know that even when I'm watching the games and like I'm into it, the 4th and 5th game I'm like, all right, can we wrap this shit up so I can like do something else? Like that's how I always feel like towards the end of it. But I feel like having like 2 games only to watch, it's a lot more relaxing, and knowing you only have 4 games just feels like a better viewing experience for me personally.
Yeah, the big complaint here from Twitter, from Reddit, from our chat right now is that EU just can't watch the Monday Night League, so they're basically missing out on 2 matches. And if it's a marquee matchup or a playoff matchup, you're just kind of getting screwed over a little bit there.
If you're from EU and you're watching NALCS, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you watching NALCS if you're from Europe? That's your first fucking problem.
Maybe they were a fan of the players that LCS stole away.
Yeah, well then you should fucking drop your fandom of them because they sold out for money and just find a new fucking person to be like. Be a fan of kha'zix or some shit. He's up and coming. Like, just find a new player to be a fan of, dude.
Maybe
it should literally be like it should be a funeral when the player comes to NA. Like as soon as Suz comes to NA, it's like, hey, you had a great career, Suz, and then you just write off whatever happens after this.
They hold a retirement ceremony before he comes over.
Yes, definitely.
If you guys haven't seen it,
he died so young. He was 18, and he never played League of Legends again.
If you haven't seen it, go to Dom's previous broadcast and break down Dom's breakdown of Jizuki's interview.
Yep. Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do.
North America, it's very good. But we play very. I think he said calculate. He didn't say slow.
Yeah,
he didn't say slow. He said like calculate.
Yeah. And I was laughing so hard because it was because like he's like a natural Europe. Like Jizuki is one of the most naturally born European flamers on that server. Like he's somebody that has so many enemies on the server just because he's the stereotypical, like one thing goes wrong, open fucking mid, like you dog jungle, like can't my fucking, like he wants like the games we played his way. If you don't play it his way, he's angry, right? Like he's the stereotypical EUS flamer. So to see him go through all of the flame thoughts in his head and then try to find one thing he could pick out just seemed so painful. You looked at his eyes and I could literally see his soul like leaving his body as he said those fucking words. It's like, yeah, it's it's fucking calculated. And then he just almost died on the fucking stage. Dude, it was fucked up for him, man.
Yeah, we saw his hair fall out.
Yeah, no.
It's actually one of the things I talked with two GMs about, how Europe developed its own meta, and then NA, what they did was they picked up a lot of Korean coaches and a lot of Korean players, and they picked up the Korean meta without any of the refinement. So I actually completely agree with Jizuke when he says we're more calculated. Like, because we are trying to calculate, but we don't have any of the refinement, or we don't have any of the practice.
We're just shitty calculators.
Yeah, it just looks so fucking slow. So like people are doing quick math, and like we're sitting there with our crayons trying to figure shit out.
Well, I mean, I feel like the game should just be more like it's not, at the end of the day, like it's a fucking game of it's a video game, right? And these games are not going to be something that is able to be just like figured out to a T, where there's always going to be the absolute best play at all times. I feel like there has to be like some level of like risk and some level of just like instinctual play that I feel like NA is so afraid. Like you can have an instinct of like, hey, I think we should kill this guy here. Like even if it doesn't sound right, it's like Baron's up, right? Baron's up. You have the top laners laning versus each other, bot lane, and you know your jungler's like, hey man, like I don't think that they can force the Baron 4v3. Like I think if I go bot lane, I can get this kill here. It feels like NA players will never go for that because it's such like a stereotypical wrong move. It's like, no, if the jungler goes bot past 20 minutes, they can start Baron. It's like, yeah, but like they can't actually 4v3 Baron in your team's face. So if you like see the kill opportunity, you see that like laners are in certain comfort zones where they just believe like, hey, this is just a 1v1. Laners are trading like a little bit more like dumbly or like a little bit more loosely at certain points. You can go for plays that are not stereotypically always the best possible play. But it seems like every player just wants to play like perfectly in LCS instead of just like trying to play to win. And that's one thing that I always liked about G2 is they were so willing to make plays like that. They're so willing to like send both their solo laners bottom instead of like 1-3-1ing. It's like, hey, what if we do a 0-3-2? We have nobody top and then 3 people mid and 2 people bottom. Like, well, how the fuck does the enemy team react to that? Like, I like that type of play.
Playing more instinctively and playing more off feel and like the limited information you have available, I think is really, really good in the meta right now, where we have a lot of burst damage and we have a lot less vision than we used to. But I do think it was way better to play calculated back in like season 4, 5, even season 6, when we had double sight stones going around and when we had full on tanks in top lane and full on tanks in jungle and hyper carry AD carries. Like the meta shifted and I'm way more with you now.
Yeah. Definitely. But even like, so for example, even in that meta, like I think that it's obviously different like situations, but I feel like, so for that meta, one of the things that, because that was when I played, like, I thought that one of the things that was really OP was just doing substandard jungle pathing. Just being like, hey, like I started topside, right? What happens if I go, and I saw Meteos try this in one of the games, and I love junglers that path like this. You start on one side, right? And every team's communication is the same. Hey, they leash topside, jungler's gonna be bot at like 315. What happens if you just start your top buff, then you do your bottom buff, and then you run back topside immediately? Like you can find so many angles on players where they're just like playing off just the feel of like, hey, the enemy jungler can't be up here. Well, you can be, like you're actually it's not like you're fucking on vision all the time when you're jungling. Like there's always opportunities to do substandard things that could work out. Like there is some like amount of risk, and there's like a concept that I've been trying to like talk about a little bit more, which is like bluffing, where I feel like not a lot of laners understand bluffing well in games. Like there's times where you can like position like your jungler's there. And one player that I learned this from was Rush, actually. Rush was really good about this. And one of the things that he communicated that I'd never heard junglers communicate before is he would be like, hey, I'm going to go for a gank bot. Like we see the enemy jungler, bot lane, play aggressive right now and make it look like I could be there. And it can fuck up a team's communication. It's be like, oh, they're playing really aggressive for no reason. Their jungler must be here. And then in reality, you're actually on the other side of the map. Like, I think that that's such like a unique concept where not enough people are like willing to just play the mind game of League. And people are just sucked into like this, let's just play perfect. Like, nah, that would never work, dude. That'll never fucking work if we gank top here. It's like, no, it could work. You just have to like sell it.
And as you said, most LCS players play on like a very basic level and they're trying to get to the standard of what's acceptable. Like that's the players you're mentioning, like Russia Meteos, like they're very experienced in their roles and they're very comfortable doing what they're doing. Like I see that a lot in Korea, especially last year with Keen and somewhat in Kespa Cup also. Like once people get to that stage, I'm sure we'll see it a lot more.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
All right. Well, we're starting to break down games a little bit there, so why don't we move on over to our next topic where we cover the marquee matchups from last week. So we've got several of them for you. Let's start with the top one where we got bamboozled. Where's Pobe? Team Liquid saying that Pobe is going to start the whole time, positioning that, getting him in the interviews, doing the Reddit posts and the Twitter posts, and instead Fire goes in and team looks very different compared to Cloud9, who looked very good. Sven in his interview saying that him and Vulcan 500 preseason solo queue, duo queue games in Korea, and they looked on point, and Cloud9 looked big here in that first marquee game.
So normally TL does this thing where they troll people regarding their social media, like that one time where Steve was telling people they're going to pick TSM for their quarterfinals matchup or semifinals matchup, and they didn't. But
well, I mean, obviously they weren't going to. Like, why would you ever go into a situation and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna like give ourselves a lower chance to win"?
Steve was like talking to people about how it's better to take them out early, and they're gonna be better in finals, and it's better to match them early. So that was their real reasoning.
But Steve is not the one that makes that decision at the end of the day. It's up to the coaching staff and the players. Like Steve knows what his place is like on the team. He wants to be like the owner with Reggie where he is like the face, but he knows like one thing that he's learned over time, and I think that this is one thing he's got a lot better at, is like being more hands off, because he's not somebody who was like a top player like, you know, Reggie was at some point. And he doesn't have
I'll give a little bit of a secret. Do you guys remember the punch Double Lift tweeting someone punched a hole in the wall tweet?
Yeah.
So initially Double Lift tweeted that as a joke. He thought, what is it? He tweeted, "Oh my god, our coaches got so mad, like they punched a hole in the wall." He didn't know. Later on, he found out that one of the TL coaches actually did punch a hole in the wall. And it did have to do with a little bit of ownership stepping in and ownership telling them, "Hey, we shouldn't be doing this. We should be doing this. Like, this is our expectation."
Yeah, definitely Steve steps in a little bit, but I think that he's somebody who over time, like he's just realized he's like, "Hey man, I just need to get good personnel because I can't do everything myself." Like he knows his strengths, right? Like Steve is really good at selling sponsors. He's really good at like,
he's a great businessman.
He's a great businessman. He's probably the best. Like he's probably I would say he's probably the best businessman in the LCS in terms of like understanding how to make an organization actually profitable, getting good sponsors, like setting teams up for success, like getting the right personnel, etc. Like he's really good at that. But he's not somebody who's gonna just coach a team to like victory. Like whereas, you know, Reggie was somebody who could step in and actually have like a positive
Daddy
effect.
Reggie coming down. Who do I got a belt this time? And then all of a sudden, TSM makes playoffs.
Yeah.
So
he's like, I just have to belt Loco, and then that's it. That's all he had to do.
Anyways, going back to the TL versus C9, so it was supposed to be Pobelter, and they weren't pulling a switcheroo.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be playing, and then Fire came in last minute, and they're like, "Okay, we think it's better with Fire."
So originally, the reason why they were gonna have to use Pobelter is because Fire was having visa problems as well. Like they're trying to get a visa for because Fire is Australian, and Brox is obviously from Denmark. So they had a situation where both of their starting jungler for LCS and their starting jungler for Academy both had visa issues, so they had to use Pobe as like a last resort type thing. And then because Fire's visa ended up getting cleared quicker, also it's easier to get a visa from Australia than it is from Denmark, just generally speaking.
Shocked.
Well, I mean, that's just the agreement, right? It's like, I think it's like Canada, UK, Australia, and I think there's one more country where there's like an agreement where it's just easier to get visas from those countries to the United States. I don't know. I worked on it once because I dated a girl that was Australian and we were trying to get her a visa. So yeah, yeah. Fastly, who works for TL, is Australian, and she now has a visa through TL. So I did the whole process, and she's actually now the manager of this team. So it's relevance there.
Fun facts.
Fun facts. But anyway,
tainted minds.
Anyway, he came in 4 days earlier than he was supposed to, and because of that, they like ran a couple of scrims, and he was instantly just better. I mean, he's just a real fucking jungler, right? Like, he was somebody who he had 3 accounts in the top 5, and fucking in NA he got like rank 4 in Korea playing jungle. Like, he's an extremely talented solo queue jungler who has not had much success in a team environment outside of Australia, outside of OPL. So yeah, he just ended up being the clear cut, like, better decision, because Pobelter, obviously learning a new role, you're just not going to have the finesse down. It's not going to be comfortable yet.
Is he a J4 one trick? Because TL overly prioritized J4 for him. Like, they drafted Jarvan first rotation on red side. They first picked Jarvan versus TSM. So I was like, does he only play J4?
Nope. He's a very versatile champ pool. Actually, like, the champion that, when I think of Surenfire, the champion I think of is Kindred. That's actually like his main. That was like one thing that he played a lot of before. But I think the Jarvan is just like a pretty like solid, easy pick to play with for the most part. Like, Jarvan's just gonna go in.
TL pick.
Yeah, dude. Fucking TL's always had the biggest boner for Jarvan. I remember, like, I had to fucking play Jarvan every game. They nerfed Jarvan. Peter still had me playing that shit like the next fucking matches anyway, man. That champion is just such a TL, because it does, like, it's such a stereotypical jungler. I feel like J4 is just the like most balanced jungler. It's like the fucking Thresh of the jungle, where it's like when it's bad, everything can just dick it in terms of like 1v1s and everything. Like, when it's bad in certain metas, like with tanks, it's like, oh, well, the tanks just outscale it so hard, there's nothing you can do. It doesn't matter what you do early. And then in some metas where it's super early game focused, which is kind of like this meta, unfortunately for other people, jungle is actually like ruined to the point where you can just get away with Jarvan because the enemy junglers can't actually like abuse you hard enough to win the game. Like, Rek'Sai into Jarvan is not this super counter matchup it used to be, but it will always provide something for the team, right? AoE slow, like, you ult people that are immobile, they're gonna have to flash out of it every single time. Knock up, armor shred, attack speed for the whole team. Like, it just does a little bit of everything.
I was a little bit surprised, or I actually misspoke. He didn't first rotation jungle. Blabber picked Lee, and then he picked J4 into that. So I was like, man, this guy's a new jungler, and Blabber is one of the most aggressive junglers in the whole scene, and you're giving him J4 into Lee Sin. And also, they ended up blinding Azir and counter-picking Aatrox with Mordekaiser. I was just so lost with what the hell TL's doing.
Well, I just think they didn't have like good answers to they don't have like good counters on that team. And then also, like, the main thing that people pick into Lee Sin is the highest counter is Rek'Sai, right? So, but the thing is, Rek'Sai feels so like Rek'Sai is the jungler that falls off the hardest. Yeah. With Olaf. I mean, I think Olaf still can do something, but like in this meta where junglers are like 2 items at 35 minutes, it's your fucking Rek'Sai ends up useless. So if you're not confident in your jungler like really taking over the game and you're not playing a clean fucking game, I'd say Jarvan's just like a better overall pick.
The comp felt so TL though. You have like a tank top, you have an engaged jungle, you have bot side carry, and then you have like a mid carry. It felt like exactly like 2019. So
you mean the blue side game they played versus TSM?
Well, this game also. They had Mordekaiser top side.
Yeah, but I don't consider that a tank top.
All right, but they had like a tankish top, and they are botching their counter pick top also to make it independent, which is something they did last year that wasn't that great for them. And another huge thing was they ended up banning Qiyana both sides. Like, red side Qiyana ban is kind of whatever, but blue side Qiyana ban is pretty troll. And that was the whole point of them at Worlds. Like, hey, we couldn't play some of the meta champions, so it really bit us in the butt. I thought this year they'd be tackling that a lot more, especially when they talked about Jensen and Broxa duo queuing and boot camping together. I thought that'd be something Jensen would be actively working on, extending his champion pool, and he did none of that.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think that Qiyana's that good mid. On that patch, I think Qiyana is mainly a jungler. So normally speaking, like, the way that teams play is they'll like early draft Rumble, they'll do like Rumble mid, Qiyana jungle, things like that. They'll do Mordekaiser top, Qiyana jungle. Like, Qiyana is just a champion that has so many like weird matchups mid. Now, like, it's really hard because they nerfed Qiyana so many times. It's really hard for you to.
Oh, no.
You're cutting out.
Oh, no. He's getting destroyed by Spectrum Internet. They're paying back from last week.
Dom, go again. We missed your whole rant on Qiyana. You disconnected for a bit.
Oh, okay. So Qiyana in general is just like the champion that just doesn't have like good matchups mid anymore. Is essentially the point I'm trying to make. Like, there's even when the teams pick like their blindable things, like a lot of teams are blind picking LeBlanc, a lot of teams are blind picking Orianna. Like Qiyana just doesn't win any of those matchups anymore. So it's pretty much been relegated to being like a jungle only pick.
She still has like incredibly high presence, and then you can pick it and you can shift it to jungle later if B. But I was just so shocked that they would spend the entire year struggling with champion pool and then also start the season by banning an OP pick on both sides. Maybe it'll get solved once Brox is here, but I still really do want to see TL actually expand their pool and not have the same problems they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at competitive league matches this year with Qiyana. In Korea and China, mostly jungle. In Europe's academy leagues, it's about 50-50 mid. So yeah, Qiyana definitely more in the jungle now, less so in mid. And it's barely seen in any pro play right now. All it is in the smaller regions and the academy regions.
So the two players that received a lot of blame from TL were Shumfire and Jensen. What's your take on it, Dom?
Surenfire and Jensen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think in the first game it was just definitely like a weird game in general. Like it feels like they just don't have the coordination that they used to. I don't know how much this is just like the team just not having a real jungler and not having like practiced that much together. But it seems like before TL always like had a good idea of like how they wanted. They're at least very decisive in what they thought. Mm-hmm. Whereas like even the way they lost at Worlds, right? Like they committed to a fucking dragon fight at level 4 and they just lost the game together. Like that's a more acceptable way to lose than the way that they just lost to C9, where it's like, oh, we're just gonna AFK the entire game and hope something fucking like good happens. Like they didn't know when they showed up at the dragon, like if they could fight or not. Like it wasn't like, okay, we've got dragon control. If they walk in, we're fighting. It's like they walked in, poke them a little bit. Like I don't know, throw some spells at them. Are they backing up? Oh, they're looking they're looking aggressive. Okay, you never mind. You know what? We should just fucking leave. Like that was their mentality, which I just feel like that's such an NA thing. Like every NA team looked so indecisive, which makes it so hard to watch.
Yeah. Once you get better, what happens is instead of opting into the 5v5 dragon fight where you feel like you're going to lose, you just get that dragon up and you go do other things. It was a point in the game where Niski had both Frosty items complete on Veigar, and he was level 12 and no one had QSS. So Veigar is God mode at that point. The only thing they can do is have J4 engage on him. And that wasn't really going to happen with Tom Kench. So I was like, why the hell is TL here? They should be spreading out. They just were so ready to take that fight for no reason.
Do you feel like it's residual of having a jungler that calculates that for you very quickly? I mean, because that was the fastest game this whole week. That was the fastest game in all of LCS.
It's a team decision. Like the thing is, they're not making their decision early enough about what they want to do because they don't know if they can fight or not. Like the teams that are really good at doing it. So one of the things I think the best team at doing this last year was G2. Yeah, G2 is just the best team in the world at doing this, where they would like prep like 2 minutes in advance. Like, hey, this dragon is coming up. Are we gonna fight it or not? Like in 2 minutes, are we gonna fight or are we not gonna fight? And they'd be like, hey, we can't fight because we don't have these items completed. Good, fine. They swap people top and they're making a play on the other side of the map. Like. So when Dragon's coming up in a minute, they're already like prepared with their top side vision. They're ready to make their top play. Whereas like it feels like all of the teams in LCS right now, they just show up to the Dragon and they just kind of see how it goes. They're like, oh, did we get a poke? Like, did Zoe land a bubble? Oh, she didn't? This is looking kind of bad now. Okay, we should just back now. Like they don't know beforehand how the situation is going to play out.
G2 did that exact play versus Mad Lions this week too. They were down 0-5 and they somehow creatively played their mid game, where they're like sneaking in Herald, where they're acting like they're going to contest Dragon and then sending 3 people topside. Like, yeah, good teams do this all the time, but G2 is such a good example of it. As for like the whole NA thing, it's kind of like visualizing what's possible. Like you see your comp and you see their comp and you look at the items and you need to be able to exactly say, oh, we cannot take this fight and we need to start spreading out on the map. We need to start making sure we're getting plays on the other side of the map. But NA teams don't make that call early enough, or they feel like they can take the 5v5 at Dragon, and the team that shouldn't be there is in a losing situation for no reason because they couldn't make that decision early enough.
Yeah, it's like the people I think that like especially carries, they need to know how strong they are every single time that they like complete items and like how strong the enemy is every single time they complete items, and they need to be able to communicate to the team, because a lot of the times like junglers and supports, they're not going to know exactly how strong the person playing their champion is, right? Like also like you don't know like how confident they are in playing certain situations well. So I feel like a lot of times jungle and support is going to be like, hey, like what's up, carries, like can we fight this, like can we do it? And it feels like most people are like, yeah, we can. It's like, but like it doesn't really matter if you can. It doesn't really matter if you can or you can't. What matters is like, is there like, is the best possible thing for you to do it, or is there like other options that are like a higher % chance of working?
Oh my god, it's actually an insecurity thing where I feel like a lot of the NA carries feel so insecure about saying, I'm weaker right here, we can't take the fight. They feel like they failed the team, so they don't actively say it. Or they even know, but they don't say it in game. It's because they feel nervous about, oh shit, like
like then people are gonna think I'm bad.
Yeah.
Well, let's save some of the overall NA talk for a little bit more, and let's break down the next game that we had here. So, C9 getting the better of Team Liquid. Niski doing his handshake practice was able to deliver the handshake to Jensen. Let's head to our first fiesta of the LCS season. TSM and new look Immortals. Immortals was looking pretty rough in game one, but then they're able to bounce back, survive against TSM. Neither team wanted to win this one, going back and forth. And this is the game that you were talking about, Dom, where it's like, no one wants to take Baron. What the hell's going on in this one?
So for this one, TSM botched their draft so badly. I saw so much criticism for Broken Blade. He could have landed better Rumble ults, but
there's nothing for him to Rumble ult off.
Yeah, no, but it's so difficult to land the Rumble ult, like Dom said, when there's nothing to Rumble ult off. There's so many good champions in the meta right now that makes it easy for Rumble. And Rumble goes mid. Rumble doesn't go top. Rumble should be going mid. But there's Leona, there's Nautilus, there's Jarvan, there's Aatrox. There's much
Braum, there's Kiana. Like
there's so much champions that makes it so easy for Rumble, but they don't do it. And the whole thing about Rumble right now, if you physically banned Rumble from being able to go mid lane, his pick rate would come so much down. He doesn't have really bad matchups in mid. He wins most of his matchups, and he's able to roam so easily. That's why Rumble missed like a really big thing. And he has really good all-in potential whenever you're running Ignite on Rumble instead of running Teleport. So I was shocked that TSM first picked Rumble. They drafted no setup for him and then sent him top lane.
Yeah, I think that just in general, people get stuck in these like ideas where they just pick a bunch of OP champs and they end up with 0 team comp. So like, if you see like the way that TSM's drafting, they're like, okay, so we got Senna. What's good with Senna? Like Tom Kench just makes Senna can play super safe, right? Like that's like normally the best 2 picks with Senna are like Braum and Tom Kench, because Senna's not really like an all-in AD carry. It's not like an MF where you're gonna try to like Leona all in with it. It's more like you just want to play from range and like keep the Senna safe, and she'll just like carry the team fight through healing and like just having more range than the enemy AD carry. It's more like a poke slash like light burst champion. So
it's a little bit different when you have Senna Kench together. So how people have been doing it is they take glacial augment.
People take glacial augment on Senna,
freezing conversations. Glacial augment.
They take the glacial thing, and then they take approach velocity on both Senna and Kench. And if Senna lands an auto in lane, it makes it so easy to all in. So the 2v2 is actually really dangerous, and that's why like that duo is really, really highly prioritized right now.
Yeah, I didn't know that the Q leads to a stack. Like the Q is a basic auto attack. So if you hit something with it, the glacial augment goes through. And you were talking earlier the insane range of Senna.
Which is why people go Dustblade. That's the whole reasoning behind Dustblade too. So it applies on hits. So it applies Glacial Augment and Dustblade. And then you take and then you get a rapid fire cannon. You can auto from longer range than the guy can see you. It's a really balanced champion. I really like how Riot introduced 2 new AD carries, and they're instantly both just better than every single other AD carry in the game.
And all the new AD carries break rules and do things AD carries normally can't. And they need to survive in the meta right now. Like traditional AD carries can't survive in the meta. The oldest AD carry being played right now is Misfortune. And the way she's being played is as a caster. And then you forgo your early game by just breaking 3 or getting 3 Dorian Swords. So traditional AD carries are essentially dead.
Yeah, I think that there's just like an issue with how they balance the game. Like I don't think the newest champion always has to be the best in the role. Like, I just don't agree with this logic from Riot, where the newest champion just has to be automatically better. I know they want to sell, like, the champion, right? They want people to buy it. And people don't want to buy a champion that's, like, new and unfamiliar that's also weak. But the degree of, like, skill that they put, or like the degree of like brain deadness they put in these champions makes it so like somebody who's first timing Senna is going to be better than like somebody who's like fucking mained Ashe for their entire fucking life. Like it just seems so like just not balanced or so wrong in terms of how the games go. And then also like the Senna's infinite scaling with range is just stupid. Like range is the most broken stat on AD carries, period. Like that's why Caitlyn was able to survive for so long with like a relatively mediocre kit, was just the amount of range just gives you an extra level to your team fighting, etc. So you have Caitlyn with whatever range, and it's like, oh, Senna just gets more range than that, and it's proccing Glacial Augment, and they can go full lethality. Like it's just too much. Like they just need to tone it back. And then with all the supports being things that can't be killed, you can't even punish a Senna in lane. It's not like you could even play like fucking Thresh or like Blitz or like Morgana or something to like hit a skill shot on this immobile champion. It's like, oh no, everyone just gets a get out of jail free card. Everyone wants a Braum. Everyone wants a fucking Tahm Kench, and then the lane just becomes farm and champion perma scales.
Mm-hmm. There's just for like the idiots that are spamming. People played Varus. People played Ashe. Just go to Game of Legends and then go to champions and then go to bot and look at the presence for champions like Aphelios, champions like Senna, and then compare it to the other champions. Aphelios and Senna are easily doubling any kind of presence that other non-Aphelios Senna has.
Mm-hmm. And the other champions are just picked because Aphelios and Senna are taken. Like people are making sacrifices. They're like, hey, we're gonna like pick Ashe here into Senna, which is bad for us, but like we're getting advantage somewhere else through our draft. And like normally the enemy team is having to ban out like, so I saw like games where the enemy team would like second rotation, their second ban phase, they would ban out Varus plus like Varus plus MF or Varus plus Aphelios or whatever the other AD carry was, just so that like they would guarantee have a good matchup in terms of AD carry.
Well, yeah, and it goes back to the point that Dom was making about the jungle. Ashe is getting played. Varus is getting played. Varus, at least he can kind of hard carry, but they bring utility in their kit. You have the insane CC, cross-map CC, whatever it is. And so when champions are starting to fall out of the meta because of the stats or because they don't scale as well, now you just fall back to champions that have good utility. Like Misfortune's ult, although, Misfortune caster stays safe, usually paired with the Jarvan that brings the utility. So it's almost like a combo there. You're going less for champions that are expression of skill and more of these work together. These are tried and true, and its kit works together. So
also, I'm going back more into the game for TSM Immortals. This game was TSM had control for majority of the game, but they opted into constantly making tempo plays by taking side lanes and taking Herald first. And then after that, like, they have Rumble. Their Baron fight is one of the strongest. And they gave up the first Baron by sending 4 people bot side to chase after the Aatrox. And I think that was the biggest mistake TSM made that entire game. If they can actually keep that Baron up and use that Baron to bait a team fight or actually take that Baron, then they have a shot at taking the game. But because they sent those 4 people bot, Immortals got Baron, they could just delay the game forever. I don't think Immortals played particularly well, but my God, TSM had no fucking idea what to do. They were just eating glue in front of Immortals, and once TSM was high enough on the glue, Immortals came over and just pushed them aside.
Is it eating glue or sniffing glue? All right, okay, eating glue. All right, we're doing different shit on Facecheck, but Jesus Christ. So I guess my point that I never completely made was that because teams are just picking like they have like these priorities in draft, they're like, holy shit, these idiots gave us Senna and Rumble. They end up with these team comps that just don't make sense. It's like if you look at like LPL team comps, for example, they love Leona, Jarvan, MF. Like that is like a little team comp right there. Because it's like, okay, you Jarvan ult from long range, Leona ults inside of the Jarvan ult. If the enemy team doesn't have flash, you MF ult on top of that. You're killing people like almost every single time. But it seems like NA, like people just always want to have like the best possible matchup. Where, like, in reality, let's say you have a worse AD carry there, but something that has some setup. Let's say you have Varus instead of the Senna, and you give the other team Senna. Sure, theoretically, it's worse. Like, Varus is a worse champion than Senna right now. Right. But your team comp makes more sense because you have, like, setup for the Rumble ulti now, and you can, like, draft in ways where you're like, making an actual composition instead of just, like, a random amalgamation of, like, these champions that are all really good, but together don't do anything.
I actually think it could have been solved so easily by just taking a different mid and jungle. I do agree with you. The Jarvan or the Leona thing, the MF thing, that's ways to fix it too. But how do you 4 and 5 Lee Sin and LeBlanc when you have Senna, Kench, and Rumble. Just pick J4 and something else top lane. I thought that was the bigger problem with TSM draft.
They're playing into Zoe, right? Or like, was mid already selected? It was already Zoe, or no? No, Zoe was last pick, I think, in that draft.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the Zoe was picked yet.
But anyways, like just taking J4 there solves so much of their problems.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, they're viewing it as like, hey, like we have got a strong top, a strong bot. Let's draft a strong mid jungle duo that we can take over the game with. Because LeBlanc and Lee Sin are really good at killing enemy mid laners, right? Like, what could the enemy team draft there where LeBlanc and Lee Sin don't have like huge threat of killing him?
Yeah, it was LeBlanc, Lee Sin, then it was Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much onus to snowball. Then, like, if you don't snowball, then you just fall off like a rock.
Yeah, I mean, but teams like just they always want to have the stronger mid jungle, they want to have the stronger top and the stronger bot. They care more about
the
that.
Stronger team comp. How about the easier team comp to execute when the thing is,
look, if you have the easier team comp or you have the stronger team comp, that's not going to make you have more value and get paid more as a player. Like, you just need to have the pop off game. You just want to always be doing well in LCS. Fuck being part of a team. Fuck winning. That's just out of the table. You're playing in NA. You're playing for a check, so you want to look as good as possible all the time. That's the truth.
I might have a shocking revelation. Maybe winning LCS games might up your value more than looking good in LCS games.
Nope. Hooney lost LCS a bunch of times in a row. Hasn't won an LCS split yet. Motherfucker's getting paid 2.3 mil for 2 years.
Yeah.
He did win. He didn't win LCS, but he won more games.
Has Hooney had a winning record since coming to the LCS? Probably not.
Yeah. No, he definitely has a winning record. He is one of the most winningest regular season players of all time.
Yeah, of course, because Immortals. He was on Immortals, so they were They were 17-1 and 16-2.
Sorry, yeah, I forgot about Immortals. I meant since Echo Fox. Since Echo Fox and then Clutch. They both kind of tanked his win record.
No, Echo Fox had positive win rate. Like, they were doing pretty well. Like, especially Spring Split, they came into playoffs as like the 1 seed, I think. So yeah, he's always been a regular season monster.
It's probably not as insane since he came back from Korea, but I would still bet he has a positive win rate, not a negative.
Oh no, it's definitely positive. I would bet it's like 65% plus.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about Immortals. I was considering since he came back from SKT and all that stuff. Okay, let's take a look at the next match then, since we went through the that one pretty quickly. Another Fiesta. This one I think will take a little bit less time to break down, but it was important for two reasons. One, it was the new look Golden Guardians, Golden Glue in the mid lane, Keith at bot, and the debut of, I guess, one of the few rookies of the split. Closer coming in there in the jungle, and then Ryoma as well in the mid lane for new look 100 Thieves. That was a throwback to 2018 100 Thieves. It was always funny to see Prolly talk about this roster on the desk. You could see there's like a tinge of like, you know, if I had these pieces every time he was talking. But this game, Golden Guardians they were win the game until they lost the game. The big rope-a-dope around the Elder Dragon like closed it out, but there's a lot in it.
So for this one, what'd you think of the jungle path thing from Ryoma? From Ryoma, excuse me.
From Medias?
From Closer. So I don't know as jungle much as you. My read was he's trying to increase the CS gap between him and Medios. And when you get when you take the enemy buff and you bully him out early, how I read it is you impact the map more by just ganking a lot, not by increasing your CS lead further. Because eventually the other person's going to catch up.
Yeah, so his path would be really, really good last season. This season, his path is a lot worse. Because, like, even though there's no catch-up experience, people over-focus on the fact that, like, catch-up experience is why junglers stay even level. Right now, denying a camp doesn't do much because the camp respawns so quick. There's always going to be a camp for the enemy jungler to farm in his jungle, right? Like, even if you take, like, his Gromp and his Wolves, he can just survive off his, like, getting, like, his bot side jungle over and over again, you know? Like, the camps respawn too quick, so, like, in that situation, I think he just went for too many like individual camp invades. Like after he 4-buffed him, great. 4-buff, get both crabs, and then start transitioning that into like Dragon and contest the next buff. Like you don't have to constantly be trying to like fight over his like Wraith camp, fight over his fucking Grom, fight over his Wolves, because at the end of the day, he's always going to be relatively close to you in levels because you're not gaining that much experience from that. Like you should be concentrating on getting yourself more ahead than keeping him down, because keeping him down will never be like a thing in this new jungle. Like they say that like, it's supposed to be better for junglers because since catch-up experience isn't in the game anymore, you should be able to shit on enemy junglers harder. But the reality of the situation is, because you don't gain that much experience yourself, it's not like they have to worry about like you obtaining a massive level lead over them, and they don't need to rely on catch-up experience, because even if you're like a lot of camps up, even if you're double their CS or whatever, even if you're fucking 50 CS 2-0 as Elise and have taken Dragon at 10 minutes, like TSM Dardoch did in the game versus TL, you're still going to be level 5. So that's just how it goes.
Yeah. Dude, I looked at Golden Glue really, really closely. Golden Glue is not bad, but he's not amazing. There's this one Dragon fight where it didn't look like he fucked up, but I know for a fact better LeBlancs like Rookie don't play that way, and even better LeBlancs like Bjerg in NA and Jensen in NA don't play that way. As LeBlanc, you have the most mobility out of any other champion, maybe par Akali. So your target selection is so important. You can do damage to literally anyone in their team, and he used most of his damage on the front line, and he couldn't get core kills off of that. And this is when he had Flash Art W, like the God tier LeBlanc combo. So it's little things like this that makes Golden Glue not the absolute top tier. And it's little things like this that makes, I think, NA players bad in mid lane. Because in mid lane, you have to maximize so many champions. And I feel like they're not able to do that.
Yeah, I definitely think that he could have chosen his targets better. I think he just dumped too much damage into Leona. Like, I think that the best target for him in that situation is Gragas, actually. I think Gragas is such a fucking free target for LeBlanc, and when you watch really good LeBlanc's play, they'll almost always focus that champion if it's on the enemy team, because you have such like an OP combo. You go forward, you chain QR the Gragas. If the Gragas tries to E towards you, you take your W back, and he can't land it, and then he's just in no man's land because his E doesn't connect. Gragas doesn't get natural MR like other champions get. And then the standard Gragas build is Runic Echoes into Zanya's. Sometimes if people are ahead, they get an Oblivion Orb, but it's essentially no MR, no health, like no defensive stats at all. You're such a free kill for a LeBlanc. Like, it's just such a brutal combo.
Isn't that what he's worried about, though? If you do get hit there with the E, you get E and then ulted backwards. Is that just not like that's just something that the LeBlanc should win every time? Because it feels like
you need to play that risk. If you don't play that risk, then you're not playing your champion.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch how Jizuki plays LeBlanc, he does the same thing all the time, where he W's forward, he starts trading. If the person starts returning damage, then he takes his W back. Like, that is the whole champion. It's about like Twitch reflexes. Like, how well can you use the fact that you can be instantly in a different spot?
Yeah. Daniel, any thoughts on the game?
I think in the studio, or I guess I wasn't in the studio for this. In watching this one, I was just very impressed with Closer. You know, I think that he played well, and I was also taking a look at Ryoma and how he stacked up against Golden Glue, who everyone kind of has as the bottom of the league, and I think Golden Glue was leading, and I think the desk they spun it very well for Ryoma. They were like, although Golden Glue had agency and was roaming around, had all the kills, like Ryoma was right there the whole time in CS until it was time for him to have an impact. And I don't know. I feel like I don't know what Ryoma is. And that's what
Ryoma got fucking dicked.
Yeah.
He was Soligo 2.0.
That's
he
what I
was
wanted
literally
to figure
Soligo
out.
2.0.
So for Ryoma, I think he's having a little bit of stage nerves. It showed a little bit in this game, but I think it really showed in the
on
Monte
Rise
game. Yeah. So for Rise, your early game is so weak. Like, in your first 3 levels, like, your spells are so fucking weak. You can't do much. So you need to play it extremely smart. There's this situation where the wave is pushing away, and Meteos is on Olaf. He's farming his jungle camps and going to Scuttle. And there's 3 ranged minions left. He comes up to clear 2 with his spells, and there's 1 left. It's 14 gold, and he walks up to last hit it. He's just staying up there when his wave is pushing away for that 1 minion, and then he gets ganked. He has to burn his flash. He has to TP back, and his game is absolutely fucked. Better mid laners in that situation can recognize, I can't go for the CS when the wave is pushing away, and actually step back. And I'm sure Ryoma is smart enough to make that decision, but on stage, he's not making it. And there's times in this game also where he's walking up to try to get the Zoe poke or trying to get the bubble, where it's such low chance, just wait until they're walking in the choke, but he's using his spells a little bit too early. I think if he gets his nerves down, he'll look a lot better. From Scrim Talk, I heard Ryoma is a lot better than what he's shown, so I'm not going to make the judgment on him too early, but he's definitely not living up to the levels that I heard the role people.
Well, I mean, I think that he's one of those players that like he looks really good when he's on, right? Like when he's hitting all of his spells, etc. Like he just looks like he could be like a Faker-esque player, right? Because he's just like really, really like mechanically talented. But the reason why I think he's not that good is because I don't think that he does like a lot of like the basics that good mid laners do. Like for example, just the one that I saw him make a mistake on multiple times is just hugging the side that your jungler's on. Like in the gank that he got ganked from Lee Sin, from top side there, his jungler's on bottom crab, right? Like he should be playing towards the bottom side of the lane. That's like something that most good laners like understand in mid lane. Like always just play to the side of your jungler, right? And he just doesn't do that naturally. Like that's something that is just not in his kit. Like he's just used to probably playing against weaker competition where that stuff doesn't matter. It's like, hey, I'm getting ganked. Like let me just play well mechanically and not have to worry about that stuff. So for me, I like when I see those types of problems with a player, I'm like, oh, he's gonna need a while to develop. Like I don't think that he'll just be like really good this split at any point. Like I don't think there's a chance that he's like the best mid laner in LCS this split.
Wait, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Just a note on that kill. Just a note on that kill. I love how Sven kicked him backwards in that game and then styled at him. It was like, welcome to the league, kid. That's awesome. Go ahead,
who's the best mid laner that 100 Thieves has had?
Ryu.
Ever? Best mid laner 100 Thieves has had ever? Yeah, it had to be Ryu.
2018 Ryu. That's the best mid laner they've ever had. It's like this team's not going to see the day of light until they get that. Like,
dude, that's the one thing that I said about 100 Thieves when I was doing the co-stream. Their team looks the same. It looks like the same exact team as last year. They have like dog shit mid. Like jungler is like pretty okay. Top lane is reliable. Like so, like you have someday. This is like I'm talking about 100 Thieves before they made like the role
change.
Swap.
Yeah.
Before they benched someday and brought in Ryu.
Split.
Yeah. Fuck that shit. I don't care about that shit. I'm talking about just like the overall look of the team. Like how they looked in spring last year. It was like, okay, what the fuck are like Bang and Afro doing? I guess Bang's reliable, but like he can't really do much bot. That's how Cody's son looks. He looks like he's trapped in Elo Hell. Jungler looks stable, not super good, whatever. Mid lane is like a black hole of pressure, and then like top lane is like pretty good themselves. It literally looks like the same exact fucking team to me.
Yeah. I think they're a really smart organization and they're doing so much good things outside of League of Legends and the competitive level. I think they're gonna succeed long term.
They have good apparel, dude. They have nice clothing. We get it, Loco.
Not just apparel, other things they're doing within their team, how they built out their facility, how they do their business, and how they're very influencer focused. Like 100 Thieves became one of the most talked about esport teams from not existing.
Get to the point.
Dom's saying, what is it? Apparel. So I'm talking about the other shit. That's actually important. But long term, I think they'll have a plan to get the right mid lane. And once they get that mid lane, they'll actually be good. But until then, they're just saving money because I think that's the right thing you need to be doing. Right now, it's so hard to compete with some of the teams. And for the bottom tier teams, to actually compete, you have to spend so much fucking money. So I think it's correct for them to wait.
I mean, I don't even think like how much money are they saving? I heard that Sunday's contract's pretty fucking high. So
from Papa had an exact budget. And then he talked about either going over that budget or under the budget, depending on how the market felt. And from what I heard, they went under the budget.
Okay.
Do you feel like then you just keep, if you went under the budget, then do you just keep, like, there's no way Ryoma costs a lot. Do you keep taking prospects that are going to hopefully bloom into something and you have Soy Luigi there because he has his experience? And,
you wait for the jackpot. You wait for the jackpot. You wait for like
I don't know if Ryoma is the jackpot, but whatever.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like you're waiting for like a big player to be released.
I thought you meant the jackpot in terms of like you're waiting for like one of these fucking young players to just become like a fucking god.
No, you're not waiting for Feligo or Ryoma to be the next Faker. That's not what you're waiting for. Maybe that's what they were waiting for.
You're not playing the lottery. You're waiting to steal the jackpot. God, okay.
Jesus Christ.
I'll think of better analogies next time. But you're waiting for a big fish, like someone to get released.
Eat that glue. Let's go to the final game because otherwise we'll start breaking down all the teams. Let's go to the final game that we wanted to take a look at, and that was we were talking about Aphromoo a little bit. CLG and Dig. Obviously, I'll kick this off by being I was very wrong. If you just take a look at the first 2 weeks, Dignitas looks good, 2-0. They're not the worst team in the league. It's Golden Guardians and a bunch of others. Also, CLG, we all had round 4. I think, Loco, you had him 6. Did you have him 6 or 5?
That was before Ruin Inted being solo queue.
I had CLG 3.
Yeah, I had him 4 before Ruin into me in solo queue. Now I just want this team to lose every game.
Was this the game, Tom? Was this the game where the tweet went out?
Oh yeah, this was the game where the tweet went out.
We'll get to the tweet at the end of the show when we get to tweet of the week. Don't worry, guys. Ruin got buried. Ruin got ruined. Probably the largest flame in League of Legends history.
Jesus.
It was pretty big. But CLG, Dignitas, CLG kind of shit the bed. Dig kind of came in and got to scale. Froggen wins MVP of the week based off of the performance here in game 2. Guys, thoughts on this matchup?
Ooh. I mean, Dig looked pretty good. The player I was most surprised by was Johnson. Dom was actually correct regarding Johnson. So there's this like pattern with rookies. Like rookies look good in solo queue, rookies look good on scrim, and then they step onto the stage and someone punches them in the face. Like they lose a lane they shouldn't. They get hit by a skill shot they shouldn't. People lane swap on them and they don't expect it. And that happened to Johnson. They walked up river where they didn't really have priority and Afro got killed and they were left in a shitty spot. But Johnson's doing his job throughout the entire game without really making mistakes. I was so fucking impressed. It's not like he's playing so far back where he's not really contributing. He's in the exact right range. He's rotating correctly. He's just doing everything correct without making these rookie mistakes. Not just in this game, the second game they played also. So I was so impressed by like how functional this guy was for his first week of LCS.
It felt like I reacted so hard because it felt like he didn't have a lot to do. He played Ashe and then he played Senna, and the Senna game, the second game was it felt like it was just clockwork. It wasn't like he was put in a ton of difficult
That's all
situations.
AD carry is about right now. That's all AD carry
is making it look easy and being like, I could do that, and then you actually step into their shoes and you realize, oh, he's measuring this, he's thinking about this cooldown, he's thinking about this person looping around, and he's not getting caught out. He's staying on the right side. Like, good AD carries make it look easy and make it so that you feel like you can do the job yourself. Like he's doing it perfectly.
Yeah, I think he's really good. I mean, I think that the reason why I thought he'd be so good is just like the way he plays solo queue, because there's a lot of players that are like rookies where they're talented, but it like always looks like kind of sketchy. It's like, oh, like would this work in like a real game? Like this guy is just like mechanically outplaying people that are worse than him. Johnson's just not the player that looks like that. Like he looks like he just understands how to actually play the game. When he plays solo queue, like it seems like he's the fucking AD carry that like knows when to take Dragon, when to take Herald, like where to be on the map, like when to group with the team, all that stuff. Like those fundamentals are there. So I guess it's like why my perception of him was that he would actually succeed on the stage.
And he also has a really nice partner in Afro. Afro has done such good things for so many young AD carries like Cody, Stixay, and then now Johnson. It is those AD carries being talented, but Afro definitely does play a part.
Yeah, definitely. I thought Afro actually looked pretty good. Like he inted once, like when he walked up river, but like I thought his Tom Kench game was really, really good overall.
Invert told me later on that wasn't Afro's call. Greg made the call to contest for it, and it was when Cassiopeia had priority on Victor because Victor can't get priority until
Victor is not a champion that early. Like that's one thing that you have to understand is like when you're going for that crab, like you do not have a mid laner if you have Victor in the early game.
Greg made the call, and Afro followed, and Afro died. So if you're going to point fingers, that's actually Grig's fault. And even in Afro's later death rate, Froggen is getting engaged, and Afro is flashing in, eating him, buying him 2 seconds, and then spitting him out, and then getting killed. So there's multiple deaths where Afro is dying, where it's not his fault at all. I mean, you can spam that fire to make Afro retire, but a lot of times Afro is just doing the job for his team and covering up for other people's mistake and actually dying.
I mean, I kind of like agree. Like I understand the like idea of you always want to like listen to your teammates, etc. But I think that just in general, like if you're like, I think that you do have a choice whether you die there walking up the river. Like you should be able to like, you shouldn't just blindly listen to like, hey, we're contesting this shit. You should be able to like kind of communicate like, hey, these guys, like we have priority, but these guys can follow us. So like if Victor can't move, we can't go there type shit. Like there's a way that you can not die there, even if your jungler makes a bad call, in my mind. But obviously, it's probably mainly on the jungler.
Yeah, how did you feel about Grig in this game? We still haven't got to CLG in this game yet, but how did you feel about Grig rotating around? Because I thought he played well and facilitated all right.
Yeah, I think he's like he's like a not flashy like middle of the pack jungler is how I view him right now.
There's some games where the jungler doesn't show up. Like it's not show up. He doesn't appear on your screen. He's like doing things, but he's not being really flashy, not really making plays, not really making mistakes. And that's kind of how Grig felt for me this game. I think this game was all about Froggen, all about Smoothie, and all about Afro.
How do you feel about Froggen looking like the best mid lane at LCS after the first week?
I actually disagree. Especially if you watch this game, there's so many times where Froggen shouldn't be getting engaged by Smoothie. I think Smoothie did an excellent job of hiding in Senna's Shroud and getting a good engage on Froggen. But a lot of times, like, Froggen just gave up engages he shouldn't, and the rest of his team covered really well. So I think Froggen looked good, but Froggen definitely... he was just so vulnerable this game.
Yeah. I mean, I think that part of that's Victor, and then part of that's also like Senna. Like Victor's, I feel like that's the scary part about playing Victor always. It's like you give up the early game, and then you're just pretty easy to engage on throughout the game. Like you have to use your Q to get movement speed. If not, you're kind of a sitting duck. Mm-hmm. But I think that overall, like he understands like how he's gonna get strong all the time. That's like that's what I like about Froggen. That's like why I think he's like still a good player. That's why I don't like. I had him top 5 in like the last prediction. I don't know. I was kind of disappointed in how Crown played overall.
Yeah.
Like,
I think CLG was dog shit. And also to speak more on Froggen, for this week, Froggen played Froggen champions and Froggen did Froggen things. Like Froggen has always been good at these immobile control mages, Orianna, Victor. Like he played these like he got Orianna, Victor. He farmed up. And he was great in teamfight. I think that's exactly what I expect out of Froggen, and that's exactly what a lot of people expect out of Froggen. It's when the meta shifts. It's when different champions are pulled in. It's when the game becomes so much more about roams, where criticism for Froggen rises. But for this week, he was a fish in water.
Any more specifically about this game? Because it seems like now we're talking more about general things.
Specifics about
Ruin is a fucking dirty, disgusting inter, and the items that he built should be punishable by a 2-week ban or indefinite ban. That's what I'd say.
CLG going into next week using
Look,
who's their top lane? I don't even know who they're. Deus.
I don't even give a fuck. I'll play top lane for them. I might get killed a couple times in lane, but you know what? I tell you what I won't do. I won't be playing Ornn into Renekton, Elise, Victor, and I won't go Frozen Gauntlet or Iceborne Gauntlet. And Sunfire Cape is my 2 Ornn upgradable items and not get a fucking Abyssal Mask. I won't do that. That's for sure.
Also, to speak more specifically about this game, CLG's so disjointed as a team. There's this dragon fight where they chunk out majority of Dignitas, and then Crown is off chasing Tom Kench, and the rest of the team isn't zoning them out from that small choke, so Dignitas just walks back in, Froggen teleports back, and they're able to take the dragon for free. Like, there's so many things where CLG is like in a winning spot, but they don't know what to do, or they're not coordinated as a team. A lot of people criticize Smoothie in this series because he looked like he's getting caught out, or he's going for engages that he shouldn't be going for. But I think Smoothie had the right idea every single fucking time that he went for the engage, and people should have followed up on Smoothie, and people weren't following up, so he just looks like shit. Like fucking Ruin is using Ornn Q on the Baron as people are coming and Smoothie's engaging. So it looks like Smoothie's the idiot, right? He's engaging on the team. Like, why the fuck are you engaging? Well, you have to fucking engage when you're getting collapsed on Baron. You can't stay on Baron the whole time. Like, you can't use Ornn Q for like fucking 100 damage on Baron instead of saving it for when your Leona goes on other people. Like, I think Smoothie played so well, and I cannot believe there's people pointing fingers at Smoothie.
People don't know what the fuck is going on. That's the number one thing. If they see you engage and the engage doesn't work out, it's a bad engage. That's how the community views it. Like they don't know what's actually happening in the game. I think that even his engage, like the only criticism I would make is they didn't engage quick enough. When they saw the double TP coming into their jungle in Baron, start running towards the double TP. That is a no flash Victor TPing into your fucking jungle alone. You should be running towards that motherfucker and collapsing. Like, you have Ornn, you have Leona, like, you can get on him. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's just the biggest issue with, or was it not? I'm not sure. Whatever. He had an engage support. That's all that matters. You can engage on them in the fucking jungle. But I think my biggest problem is, like, right now, I thought Wiggly looked really bad in these games. Like, both the games, I was, like, really disappointed with how Wiggly played overall. And then I just think that, like, their overall coordination is just so, like, it's so off on a fundamental level. I know Crown hasn't been here for a while, but like, there's some things that I just expect out of you as a professional player. So you are playing with a fucking Ornn. You build items that he can upgrade. Period. Crown, I don't care if you're with the team or not. Complete a fucking Zanya so he can upgrade that shit. He's level 15. You got one fucking Ornn item on your team, and it's a fucking Black Cleaver on a Rexa that fell off like 13 minutes ago. That shit doesn't fucking matter anymore. You need to fucking upgrade real fucking items.
So, I did talk to a few GMs, and a lot of them had complaints about visas this year coming into 2020. So someone was giving me a timeline on how much practice everyone has had.
Yeah, it's like 4 days.
Yeah, a lot of teams had less than a week of practice.
Yeah, it's like 4 days. Exactly.
Yeah. So LCS looks like shit right now, but hopefully people will get it together. At least that's their excuse for now.
Logo, how many days did we have over at Golden Guardians? Was it like almost 3 weeks? It was like 2 to 3 weeks that we had before the season.
Didn't you guys not even have fucking internet in your apartment, in your house?
Yeah, initially we didn't, so we had to go to Riot offices.
Yeah.
And you guys had to, oh my God. Lola was telling me about how much of a dumpster fire Golden Guardians was recently. Like in terms of just like the setup that they gave you guys, like it was just like not ready to win. Like people just didn't have any idea of like what the fuck was going on with like in terms of like, hey, like I heard that the players didn't even have people that like bought like beds and stuff for them. So you guys had to go out and like buy your own fucking beds and shit.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So
we'll save that for a future date.
how long is left on your thing, Loco? Your NDA?
I'm good very soon.
Ah, nice.
Very
Well,
soon.
then maybe we can find out if they had beds for you guys or not.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyways, Daniel, let's go to the next game.
All right, so those are your marquee matchups. So we kind of took a look at those specific games. We gave a little touch-ups on some of the teams, but we want to make sure that we took a look at week 1 overall. So all 10 teams here, and we've got them grouped up for you based off of their record. So we'll start with the goods, the surprisingly goods. We did our power rankings, and I think the big surprise here is not so much Cloud9, and you guys had Dignitas high, but FlyQuest up there 2-0. You know, maybe not as high because CLG looked like pretty garbage, but they're one of the 3 teams undefeated along with Dig and Cloud9. Thoughts on these 3 teams in their weeks?
Cloud9 is good in the correct way. They're good in a proactive way. They're good in a we're going to play multiple flank way. They're good in a we're not going to just go into this like set meta way. We're going to play champions that are good for us way. Like we need more Cloud9s in LCS.
Yeah, I like the way Cloud9 played. I think FlyQuest just looks like they look like the type of team they're gonna get outscaled by the other teams that actually know how to improve in the league. Like the teams like TL, teams like TSM that actually do like look better as seasons go on, macro wise. Generally speaking, are always gonna out pressure a team like FlyQuest because it feels like they just always have had like the same type of problems where it's like, okay, we're playing around split. Viper can like burn Aatrox flash on cooldown. Next time, like every time Viper has ult, it's like a flash or a kill on Aatrox in the side lane. And they're just not playing around that. Like random people are getting caught, so he has to back off pressure. Like people are just like wasting fucking abilities. People are recalling when he gets pressure. Like it just needs to be more coordinated where it's like, hey, we have our win condition. Your items, your fucking job doesn't matter anymore. You are just supposed to sit there and let the Riven 1v1 the game away. Because Riven can, at that point, he can 2v1 Trundle and Aatrox. Like, doesn't matter what the fuck happens. Like he can just straight up burn a flash or kill Aatrox every time that they walk into the lane. So whenever I see like FlyQuest, it just seems like the same issue like over and over again where it's like, come on guys, just like stop getting caught. Like just chill out. Just let this motherfucker win you the game. Whereas like that those games, I mean, I just feel like each of the FlyQuest games go like 10 minutes longer than they should.
Dom, what was the Trundle pick? So Smithy picks Trundle.
Oh, he's intentionally feeding.
Okay.
Definitely.
It was like, hey,
no, he's trolling.
I'm a troll on
That
this
should have
troll
been a
team.
rectify. That should have been a rectify.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he is actually just trolling.
Just in case,
there's no tank on the
back home. Forgot. Yeah. There's it was Trundle into Riven, Lee Sin, Victor, Senna, and Blitz. So
yeah, no tank on the enemy team, so no one you can ult for stats. Your jungle matchup is bad. The only logic behind it is they have two mobile carries, and I can pillar 2 immobile carries. That's the only bit of logic. Besides for that, it's just dog shit.
Knock up the 2 mobile carries as rectify and kill them.
Yeah, but you could pillar them, and they could have to walk around it kind of slow.
That would be a major inconvenience.
Yeah, that would fuck them up.
The only thing that would be worse is if they were dead. But speaking a little bit more on the FlyQuest thing, I think they're kind of in a similar boat as Dignitas. Like the meta's aligning so well with them right now. Like Pyre Beeble getting to play stuff like Rumble, like weird ass stuff that he likes playing. Ignar playing Blitz and Leona, Viper playing Ribbon. Like just the stars are aligning and they're in the correct meta. I want to see what happens. Like later on in the season, we get different kind of meta champions. We get more of the carries that Pyre Beeble didn't play at all. Dude, he played 1 game of Irelia last year in the entirety of the Irelia Kali meta.
Played 1 game of Kiana.
Yeah. So, yeah, FlyQuest, you look good right now. You are definitely in the good. You're 2-0, but I need to see way more of this for me to be bought in.
They're just a team where I just have no confidence in their shot calling ever being good enough to win a title. That's just how I feel. I feel like they'll always, like, if they're playing like the best they can, I'm like, okay, they'll probably get like fourth. Like if they like pop off, I'm like, that's a fourth place team. Whereas like I just don't see them ever like being like, no, we're gonna fucking win. Like we have like the new fucking idea of how to win League of Legends
Even
games.
with Power of Evil and Ignar, those are two guys that know what it takes. Power of Evil obviously going to the world stage. Ignar has a lot of experience as well. You don't think those two guys kind of...
Ignar has never struck me.
Wait, Daniel. What did Ignar do last year? What did Power of Evil do last year?
Power of Evil...
Where's these expectations coming from?
So Power of Evil dragged
he didn't play Irelia Akali last year. That's literally what he did. He forces his own meta on the team. And your team gets fucked in draft. That's what happened last year with Power of Evil. And we saw how far it took CLG. And then now ask yourself, what did Ignar do last year?
Ignar didn't do much last year.
Why is there an expectation?
I'm just asking, with the addition of these pieces to this team, how does it change this team?
The thing is, they never seem like smart players to me. Like Ignar was always like the player where I'm like, damn, that's a fucking nice ass blitz hook. Like that's a sick skill shot right there. He's like a beast player. But he's a finger player, not a brain player. He's not the player that I think is going to be like, all right, boys, we need to get into the 1-3-1 here. I want wards here and here. We're going to set up. If they don't come through this choke, we're going to start Baron. Like, he's just like somebody who's like, he's like, oh shit, I hit him. And then you're like, kill the guy he hit. Like, that's just how I always viewed him as a player. And I think Power of Evil is the same type of player where it's like, he'll like win lanes and stuff. And he'll be like strong in the game, but he doesn't know how to like really win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think Power of Evil and Ignar are like these like top tier players that are gonna bring them titles. I think they're very inflexible players. They're very good at what they're good at, and they're not good at what they're not good at, and it's been that way for years.
So to compare him to like another Korean import for Ignar, like a player that I think is like that would be like CoreJJ. CoreJJ is a player who, like, when you see, like, at least like when you watch them last year, right? Obviously this year, like, we've only seen 2 games, but generally speaking, when you watch them last year, it's like, damn, that was fucking smart. That's how I thought about CoreJJ all the time. Like, oh shit, that was like such an intelligent play. Like, it was so smart to take this angle with Alistar, where it feels like Ignar is just kind of part of the team. Like, hey, I'm looking for like a skill shot. Oh, I'm gonna try to make a play. Where CoreJJ is like, oh, I'm gonna like, I know what our team needs to do to win this.
Even the roaming thing that Ignar's so good at, I feel like CoreJJ does it better. One thing that was such a specialty of CoreJJ last year was knowing exactly where the wars are and playing and roaming in a way where he's dodging wars. Where Ignar's just, I roam on this timing and I'm going to get it correct.
So how does FlyQuest win? Like, what do they rely on? Who do they rely on that's been there and that can...
I mean, they have good enough players. Like, what needs to happen...
That's my point, yeah.
Yeah, so what needs to happen is they actually have to just be a team that actually advances in terms of macro. They have to pull like a splice from the season where they went to Worlds, where it's like suddenly it's like the team that looks like they have no clue, like has set macro plays. They have to be kind of like Clutch, for example, from last year, where it's like, hey, we might not have like the smartest team in the world, but like we know we're doing something different. It's like we know how to play, like how to get our leads by doing these set of plays. Like we do the 10-minute swap for Herald. They need those like core plays where they can default to, and they can just rely on their players outplaying when they're put in situations that are winnable.
Thank you, Dom. That's kind of like, you gave me the answer to the question I was trying to figure out how to ask. It's, what does a successful FlyQuest look like given these pieces, given the good start and the successes that they've had and the shortcomings they have? And it's to be a Clutch-like team, and anything beyond that success would be a major surprise. So, yeah. All right. So those are the good. Any last thoughts on C9 Dig?
Dig, I think, also in a very similar boat, where meta is so good for them right now. And I want to see what happens once the meta shifts. But like I mean, you included, I was shocked that so many people had them so low, because it does look ragtag, but their pieces fit in so well with each other. The only person I had a lot of question about was Johnson.
Yeah, at the media room over at the LCS, people were still a little skeptical of Dig. It's like, hey, look, things are good. Wait till things are bad. So it is kind of like a powder keg type thing. But the way that you broke it down last time, like it made sense. It's high econ for Froggen, high champ select priority for Huni, and they both can perform within that. And then bot lane just has to not int, and then Greg has to facilitate, which every time Greg plays, it always seems like he's good at doing. He's good at facilitating and doing his job. No more, no less.
I thought Johnson was a Band-Aid solution. He really does seem like he's going to be legit, at least from the first week. It's not much to judge off of. It's so little. It's 1/9 of what he's going to show the entire season. But still, I'm very excited.
All right. So that is the good. Let's take a look at, we'll go with the middle of the road, the 1-1. So we're still deciding. Jury's out on these three orgs. We used the old logo for EG because screw the new logo. It's so bad. EG, TL, Immortals, and 100 Thieves. Some of these teams looked good in winning and looked terrible in losing. Your thoughts on these four squads in the middle of the road?
EG is exactly what I expected out of them. They are going to be a good team when Zizuke, Svenskeren are on point. When Zizuke, Svenskeren are not on point, this team is garbage. Like, I don't believe in either of their side lanes, and they're so dependent on mid and jungle to function and get ahead. And if they don't,
damn, you don't believe in Bang?
I think Bang's a really good team fighter, and I think Bang was perfect for the meta that he was in, and he really developed into a good player in that meta along with Faker. But in a meta where he has to be proactive, where he has to make his own calls and he has to build his own leads, I don't think he's that great of a player.
So you'd prefer like a Prey style AD carry?
Yeah.
Then okay.
What do you think of Bang?
I don't think he's that good. This is the thing. This is the thing about AD carries for SKT during that era. It's just like, I feel like when Faker was as dominant as he was, all you have to do is like not get shit on bot lane, and you're gonna make it to late game, and you just have to like not fuck up pretty much. But you don't actually have to do the hard things to win the game. So also, yeah, I'd prefer like a Prey style AD carry instead.
Also, Zeyzal is kind of hidden bad. He's not great on range champions, and he's not good on Tahm Kench. A lot of times, like C9 just play proactive things anyway, stuff like Recon, stuff like Alistar, somewhat of Braum, so he always looked good because they play majority of those champions. But go back and watch his Lux games, and go back and watch his Tahm Kench.
You always hated his Lux. Like, I swear his Lux games just reshaped how you viewed him.
No, it's not just Lux. Like, I also played versus him during the Challenger scene. Well, I didn't play versus him. I coached versus him. On range champions, Zeyzal has always looked significantly worse versus his tanky champions. So yeah, like,
and hopefully they shift the meta away from Braum, Tahm Kench, fucking Leona, and Nautilus, so I can stay awake throughout the whole LCS games this time.
Dom, you're the TL representative. How should we feel about TL?
How should you feel about TL? I don't think you should even like think about TL right now. Like you don't even know they haven't played one scrim with their starting jungler.
Yeah.
Like, how can you even start judging this team? I feel like they'll be fine just because the players like on the team are so solid, like individually, and they've proven that they can like play the game well together. I just think you just don't even start thinking about them until like at least like week 4, week 5 when they have their jungler and they've had some weeks to like actually integrate them.
Well, I think Loco had 2 good points earlier, which was one, you didn't see a enlarged champ pool from Jensen. The Kiana thing, questionable, so we'll see that. And 2, what worries me slightly, I'm not going to read into it a ton, is the indecisiveness that you talked about, that both of you talked about with TL. Like, yes, you're missing your starting jungler, but were they relying on Xmithy that much to do that, or were they relying on Schernfire to do that, or does Broxa do it that much for them when they do get to scrim over crappy internet? Like, what does that look like moving forward, even though you've got all these great pieces here?
The biggest thing I'm actually scared for them for is the visa thing, because the visa, it's not like a progress bar like you're building up on. Like, they can just
like, you have it or you don't. Yeah,
you have it or you don't. And even if you have all your fucking ducks in order, they can deny. And it just depends on the person. So
I mean, it should be pretty easy for him. Like, he has all like somebody as popular and as successful as Broxa, it should be pretty easy to like convince the United States government that he's a legitimate player, because that's like normally what you have to do. You have to go through like their accomplishments, like show who they are. Like, he has enough social media presence, he has enough like Twitch presence. Like, he's like the golden boy. No, like he's just a super nice guy. He's been to Worlds, he's been on the biggest stage. Like, it should be very easy to prove that he's like a legitimate like P1 esport athlete, as they call it.
It's not a prospect that you know nothing about. This is a bona fide superstar.
Yeah, this is somebody who's
Legends.
I mean, like he was potentially the best jungle in the world in 2018. So
here's the problem: it's a case by case situation with like human judgment. It's not like you have these achievements, you've accomplished this, you play for this much time, you're gonna get approved every single time. Depending on who the person is, they can deny it. So we sent in 2 players from the same team, almost same fucking like thing, same letter by letter, like same document. One person got denied and one person got accepted this year for the visa thing that we were doing. So it's just so troll.
But were any of them as high profile as Broxa?
Yeah, were the profiles of the players the same or like close to the same?
No, it wasn't. But Brox, like, okay, what about for Broxa and Schoenfeld? I know we can talk about Australia versus Denmark, but I'm telling you, like, this visa shit is so fucking.
I'm not that worried about that. I think he'll get his visa. Like, maybe you had a bad experience, but generally speaking, like a player like Broxa like should be a shoo-in for a visa.
Yeah, I was surprised. I'm surprised that you brought that up, Look, like that was the
I was talking about it earlier, right? Like my ex-girlfriend Fastby, who's now the manager of TL. She got her visa from Australia. Like she got a fucking visa. I'm pretty sure if she can get a visa, Broxa can get a visa.
I hope that's the case because, yeah, visa problems are the most fucking troll shit to deal with, and it happened for every single team where everyone's visa got delayed this year. So the Broxa thing has me scared for TL.
And then Immortals under Thieves. Immortals looked like trash in game 1 and Fiesta a game away from the TSM in game 2.
This team's gonna be bottom tier. I smell it on them, bro. I swear I smell it on them. Not just because they're French. I actually smell it on them. Like they literally just you can't cover that shit up, man. No matter how much cologne you have, I know you guys are garbage. All right.
Who are you? Are you more scared for Immortals or Golden Guardians?
Immortals.
I'm more scared for Immortals because it feels like Golden Guardians have zero expectations. So like it feels like Golden Guardians will like not look that bad, but still have like a really horrible record where it's like, oh man, like feels like they could have won some of those games. Whereas like Immortals, I think could be like a straight dumpster fire where it just looks like they're getting stomped every game coming like week like 6, 7.
I think Golden Guardians was the second most proactive team behind C9, and I'm really impressed by Closer. If I got to do my tier list again, I would say Immortals 10th and not Golden Guardians.
I wanted to see what has Ica learned since Alliance 20 or Elements, whatever it was, 20 Elements in 2016, and he's been in the French league and he didn't look good. He just didn't look good just straight off the bat. Like Smithy doesn't have the same impact that he did because of the jungle. I will say because the jungle changes, and it just didn't look good. The reason why they did get the victory is because Soaz did the classic Soaz. Everyone chase me. I'm going down to the bottom lane. You have to follow me. And they're able to extend the game and, do that thing. But really...
No, TSM was just so dumb. Oh, my fucking God. I can't fucking even with this team right now. Jesus,
I mean, the thing about Immortals is like, if the jungle gets buffed or whatever, I don't even think that that's good inherently. Like, I don't have confidence in Xmithy winning like Elise versus Lee Sin versus Grig, for example, or winning
versus like, Grig. Oh my God.
I think that people like Grig are just better mechanically than Xmithy at this point. I think people like Closer are just straight better mechanically than Xmithy, and I think that he's gonna get exploited if it's like a Elise and Elise meta and those champions start carrying games. Look at how Xmithy played versus Stardock. Like, he didn't do anything as Elise versus Lee Sin, which is supposed to be good early, and then post 6 he got killed. Like, he just had no control over the game. I'm telling you, man, this is the fucking split where Xmithy gets fucking exposed. I'm staking my career on it. He's gonna be dog shit this split.
The year of Xmithy.
Yep.
Did you hear Xmithy's number?
Like how much he got paid?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't have it from a good enough source where I feel like I have it from someone that didn't get him, and I feel like they're a little bit salty, but he should be the highest paid jungler right now by a large margin, and that's including Svenskeren.
Well, I mean, Svenskeren's always got paid like shit for some reason.
Because he's on C9.
Well, no, like even when he was on TSM, he got paid like shit.
Well, that was when he was on the budget contract, where he was still like racist Svenskeren. and
I
not
remember.
very effective Svenskeren.
Yeah, I remember Svenskeren was like talking to me. He's like, "Hey man, like this is like season 6. Like they went to Worlds. They were like the best team, right? In summer, etc." And he was like, "Hey man, like I'm getting paid like 96K a year. You think I should ask for more?" I'm like, "What? You're getting paid 96K a year, and you're like the best jungler in the fucking league? Like, goddamn, bro! Like, just ask how much fucking Impact's getting paid. Like, you are getting fucked, my man. You're getting fucked."
What's so weird is like these players don't know their self-worth and they'll like complain about it and they never say anything. And the only time it ever leaks is the girlfriends talk about it on Discord, like their public Discord, because they feel like, oh, this is my Discord. No one's going to listen to this. And then it gets all over Reddit. So that's how I heard of the Svenskeren like salary like being kind of garbage.
It was so garbage. But I mean, I think this is just a normal thing. Like no one knew their fucking. I didn't know my worth until I started streaming, and I started like negotiating all my contracts individually, and I'm like, how much is like my brand worth? Because like even when I was in LCS, I had like 100K Twitter followers.
Mm-hmm.
People will pay you with 150,000 Twitter followers, 3K a tweet. 3K a tweet. Like you can make 3K a tweet with that amount of presence, social presence. We were getting paid like 3-4K a month with similar social presence in season 4, season 5. Like we were getting fucked insanely hard. But I mean, you just don't know until you go and you like test the market and you see you negotiate some of these contracts and you see what people are willing to pay you.
Thus, Steve, best businessman in the LC.
It wasn't just Steve; it was everyone. The owners, like the players, knew so little, and there weren't agents, so players were getting fucked upside down, and they were getting fucked upside down.
Yeah.
And this episode of Facecheck has been brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends.
Hey, just you saying that, like you say that as a joke, like you
we just lost $3,000.
Yeah, you just lost. Like, yeah, that's probably a couple $1,000 right there. We're gonna cut that from the YouTube video unless they fucking pay me.
Okay, anyways, Dom and Daniel, what's your thoughts on 100 Thieves?
I'm not hyped.
Jury's still out.
I'm not hyped. I didn't think they would be good overall. Like, if I could change my tier list now, I would put them at 7th and Dig at 5. Or Dig at 6, whatever. I mean, I'd put Dig probably at like higher. I'd probably put Dig over 100 Thieves and EG and all those teams. I'd probably have them at like 4. Yeah. I mean, FlyQuest had like 8th.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got kind of scammed because I talked to a lot of people in the off season to talk about scrims and stuff. In Korea, people were canceling scrims on so much of the NA teams. So I'm not going to mention names, but some of the earlier NA teams this year that went to Korea and booked scrims, they did so badly. The later teams that came from NA, they had scrims booked and they were getting canceled on. And these are NA teams with Korean coaches and Korean like head coaches. And Koreans, like there is like a Korean bias towards other Koreans where they'll take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very rare for Korean teams to cancel on a team with a Korean head coach, but people are getting canceled like crazy. So at least from 100 Thieves, and I heard no one was canceling them on Europe. So I did hear they weren't doing that well, but yeah,
I heard they were getting shit on.
I don't know, like how are they this bad? Like I wanted more from Ryoma. I wanted more from bot lane. I thought this was the year Stunt was going to be good.
No.
Like,
I actually don't think like Stunt. I don't even think Stunt is the problem. Like it feels like he's willing to like walk up and engage. Like I actually like the way like Stunt was playing. Even like some of the situations where his team was like losing. Like I like seeing him without fear, being like, "Hey, I'm the tank. Like I don't give a fuck if you only have 2 items and you have like 6 CS a minute. Zoe, we're fighting this shit. Like I'm walking in. Here's the stun. Do some shit. I like that,
dude. It's so fucking easy to buy into Papa Smithy. That guy is such a smooth talker. Like you just hear Papa Smithy talk.
I'm like a Papa, like I actually like Papa Smithy, but as far as Papa Smithy, he's so well liked that I would be more on like the cynical hater side of Papa Smithy. Like I don't think that he's as like I don't think that there's any reason that because he was a good caster, we should just assume that he's just going to be the best general manager off the bat. Which is what I feel like people did. Like I don't like the team that he put together that much. Like I don't think that this team can win a title, period. Even if all the players overperform, I don't think that they could win a title. And I feel like the Ryoma thing, I feel like that if Ryoma fails, I feel like that's mainly on Papa Smithy. That move just reeks of nepotism. It's like, oh, he's Australian, you're Australian. Okay, like, yeah, shit. Like, we're gonna have an Australian ass team. It's like the fucking Immortals. Like, let's get every French player alive. It's like, okay, man. Like, I guess.
I think
if it fails though, I'm flaming you.
I think public salary across the board would do wonders for so many of these teams, and like curbing expectations and setting the right expectations. If we have like everyone's salary out there, right? This is a fucking $5 million team. This is a $1 million team. Like, the expectations are going to be so different. And in the future, that has to be a thing.
I mean, either way, it's like 100 Thieves is a team that's proven that they're willing to spend money, right? Like, so if he chooses to go under budget, that's because he thinks that if he went to the budget, they still couldn't win. Mm-hmm. That's what that means.
Some years are just like that. You don't have the players, and even if you have the money, like, it's so hard to spend it effectively.
Yeah, they're not available, or people know that you have the money, and so you just kind of get stonewalled pretty hard. It happens all the time in any sort of negotiation.
I mean,
go ahead.
We'll see. Yeah. No, we'll just see with 100 Thieves. Like, I don't like the roster they put together. I think that they're banking way too hard on Ryoma being actually good. I feel like if you have players like, you have serviceable NA players, you have Cody-san and Meteos, you put stars around them, like, that is the time when you spend money. You have good NA players. You have good NA players, you put high caliber stars around them, the team will be solid as fuck, in my opinion. I would love to see like Stunt, Meteos, Cody-san, big, like, UCal mid, someday top. I feel like that's a team. Oh,
well, another Spectrum, brought to you by Spectrum. Another big thing for me on this team, though, is like, Loco, I like the idea that you brought up in terms of just kind of sitting on the team and sitting on the player until a big name free agent comes out. I think that's the big thing. And if you look at any of the other mids that they could have gotten that were quote unquote better, maybe you could have gone with the Monte or somebody else.
North American,
a North American mid laner that you're waiting until UCal or someone opens up next season or even in the middle of the split is more expensive than getting an Australian. It's just more expensive. So I think that's the game plan there for them. All right. So those are your 4 middle of the road teams. Most of them got figured out. 100 Thieves, waiting to see what happens. And then we move on to the bad. Not the greatest opening weeks for these two teams. Expected to do better, and Golden Guardians there. So thoughts on our bad squads, TSM, CLG, and Golden Guardians, who TSM and CLG will be playing possibly 0-3 for El Trashico instead of El Clasico. TSM and CLG both at the bottom, play at the end of the week on Monday Night League. Thoughts on their opening weekends?
Ooh, I don't know, man. Like, CLG looked the most disappointing out of these teams to me. Like, at least TSM was like winning at points, and it's like, damn, your mid to late game shot calling still is like garbage, but at least like in the early game you're kind of getting an advantage. Golden Guardians honestly did better than I expected. Like, I was like, hey, Closer's actually getting you a chance to win. CLG just looks like so bad in terms of like their decision making and in terms of like their coordination. Like, it just seems like they're on completely different pages. Like, I cannot fathom. I would love to just hear the communication when Wiggly like flashes through there. I just need to know. I need to know, because Ruin's like walking down the river, but he's not really close. Like, I'm sure Wiggly has eyes, right? He can see where Ruin is on the map. His mid laners are already dead for no reason. Number one, that death by Crown is like pretty inexcusable, I think. Like, he's just pushed up in a situation where he's guaranteed dead. That seemed really fucking weird. I expect more out of like a mid laner that should be like one of the top ones. Especially like Rumble or Rek'Sai. Like, the only thing you have to do is like, you have to not let the Rek'Sai tunnel be on top of you. Because if Rek'Sai has to flash to get into your range, then you can flash away. But if you position in a way where the Rek'Sai's tunnel is going to knock you up, and then you have to flash first, then he just flash knocks you up and you just die. So I thought that like the laning was really bad from Crown, and then like Ruin and Wiggly, like, I don't know how that could have possibly worked in anyone's head, because the Rek'Sai and the Rumble were full HP. Even if the flash EQ hits the Rek'Sai and Ruin is there, I don't even think you win that. Like, you might just get both killed in that situation. Like, it's really bad.
Yeah.
Also, Rek'Sai had his Conqueror stacked as well. Like, that's a bad fight.
Yeah, not great there. Oh man, that was the play. I mean, that summed up CLG's
that ended
weekend,
the game.
Right?
That ended the fucking game. It was like level 3. Okay, just pack it up. Like straight up, that just ended the game. You cannot do that.
CLG is a headache. This is like the one team I think I was most off on. I was so bullish on Ruin. I was so bullish on Wiggly and Crown. It is only week 1, but we'll see how it plays out. Like, they didn't have a lot of practice. I also like Song a lot less than I liked Irene, so that might play a part. But yeah, CLG is yikes.
Yeah, we all have CLG up there in the top echelon, so we think they'll bounce back, but they didn't look great. They didn't look great to kick things off, and it seemed like there were a lot of things to fix. Let's talk TSM a little bit. TSM, all the worst fans of the world here for TSM. They start off at 0-2. Kabe comes in, and it's just, I think the big story is Dardoch. It's Dardoch, actually. Dardoch watch is now currently in effect. 0-2. Big
worry.
Fiesta loss. What's the game plan here for TSM?
There's TSM coping mechanism. It's just the first week, guys. Don't worry. We'll start clicking later in the season. We got this. Spring Split doesn't even give circuit points anymore. It doesn't really even matter. Summer's where it matters. Guys, summer just started. We have the entire split to be good. It's okay we got knocked out. It's double elimination. We still have losers bracket. And at the very end of the year, we say, I'm proud of everyone on our team, no matter the result. So we are here. It's just the first week. Don't worry, guys.
Everyone in chat saying Loco repeating joke from Twitter. Guys, where do you think Twitter got that? From the original TSM coach that had to do that.
No, they're saying that because I literally tweeted that.
All right.
But yeah, that's where we're at right now. Like TSM coping mechanism. Dom, I know you were so high on Dardoch.
Yep.
What's your point of view?
Jungle is fucking ruined. That's my point of view. Like, I mean, in both games, he did win early game as jungle, right? Like, that is what Dardoch is supposed to be good at. I don't think he's like a late game shot calling mastermind or any of that. I'm hoping that the enemy that the rest of his team can shore that up. I'm hoping that Kabi, Bjergsen, and Biofrost can figure out how the fuck they want to play the game. Early game, he pathed well. He got early pressure mid in the Lee Sin game. I think he for all intents and purposes, I think he out jungled Xmithy in the first game they played. In the second game, he had a good ganks on double lift, got his bot lane really far ahead, or I guess he got himself really far ahead, but he got leads. That's what I expect from Dardoch. I expect him to have good pathing, get early leads. I don't expect him to like win the game alone after that though. Like, jungle is not a carry role right now. You're supposed to play early game champions. You're supposed to get early leads, and then it's like, carry me, fucking team. Like, I fucking got Rift Herald. I got dragons. Like, now you guys got to fucking carry me. And they weren't able to carry him. So, like, he didn't look as good as I thought he would. Like, he definitely mechanically misplayed some team fights. He could have played better. But that, to me, doesn't really, really matter. Like, he still is the early game jungler that I want to see from TSM.
Long term, what do you think is going to happen? I know it's only week 1, but it does show like how we're gonna go, like how it's gonna start.
I mean, I think that they just need to play more through topside in general. Like, I think that Kabi and Biofrost are just gonna be like a sustainable bot lane where they can just like be on their own. You don't have to visit them; they'll just always be there. Kabi will do his job, etc. I think you just play through Broken Blade, you play topside, you play for early Herald, etc. You try to snowball the game by having better mechanical players. Like, what topside 2v2 should be able to mechanically match Broken Blade Dardoch? I don't think there's one. Maybe Licorice Blabber.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can think of.
Licorice Blabber is a strong one. I'm trying to think of other ones.
I think it's the only one.
Haunts are closer, maybe, if they can get their shit together. Like,
yeah, I could see
Haunts
that,
has
actually.
always been good. Closer actually has been surprisingly good.
They don't even count because their team's so goddamn bad that, like, even if they're worse than those two, like, it's not like Golden Guardians is going to be contending for a title here. So.
One thing I'm kind of worried about regarding like the whole topside angle thing is Kabe looks like the best player. And I'm not sure if Kabe's going to be happy with this team being so topside focused when he's the one that's been consistently so good.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's good, but like he's played with like junglers that don't play around his lane. He's never really had like to be. He's always been somebody that can get his own leads. Is how I viewed him like as a player. Like he plays team fights well. He doesn't fuck up. He doesn't die unnecessarily. He's not somebody who wants all the resources. Whereas like I feel like Broken Blade is the type of player. It's like, yo, I can carry this fucking game. Come here, dude. I'm gonna get like a fucking double kill. I'm gonna fucking pop off.
Dom, things are fine if we're winning. Like, you can yell at me, like you can call me names, like you can be lazy at practice if we're winning. But if we're losing and that kind of shit is happening, I'm gonna have a fucking problem. And that's my thing with TSM. Their mid game is really bad right now, and it's gonna take time to fix. Kabe's going to grow more and more frustrated with all these things happening because they're not winning. Sure, I mean, I'm sure he was fine on Splice.
Dude, he's Danish, bro. Danish people are so chill. They'll be fine.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, Danish people are so relaxed, man. Like he'll be fine, dude. Can you imagine Kabe blowing up the team? You just got to make sure the Dardog doesn't freak out, and then you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 bombs on that team. And I wanted to touch on Bjerg as well. I think because Bjerg's like they're playing Zillion for Kabe and for the team in general, you know, I think that's an example of like, hey, look, everyone's got to share, even me, MVP, multi-time champion, all that stuff. Like, we all still play our part and play a role to win. So I think when Bjergsen's setting the example to do that, I think it kind of shows Kabe, hey, look, you can't just be losing your head after the first week. So
I don't have any problem with Kabe. Like, I've never heard of any reports, and just like I've met him he's such like a quiet person. I can't imagine him being like a catalyst for that team's.
Do you remember when Jensen was a quiet person? I mean, people start out quiet.
Yeah, but Jensen was like toxic quiet. There's a difference between like mannered quiet and toxic quiet.
And like you're a little shitter, so you just don't say anything quiet.
Yeah.
I love Jensen. Okay. Jensen's great.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little worried for TSM. Only week 1, but I'm a little scared.
Last thing that we got to touch on. Let's hit Golden Guardians. A deep dive into this 0-2 squad that always happens to find themselves at the bottom. We talked a little bit about Closer, Golden Glue. We didn't talk about the bot lane. FBI, Keith, and then Hunter up there up top.
Keith is such an enter, man. I love Keith, but he just runs it down.
Get in there. I know you love him. Let us know.
Oh man, like
has just Golden Guardians ever won a game on week 1?
Yes, in after the team recovered in summer 2018.
Oh, they like what 4-0 or something.
Yeah, we were first place, and then that was the last time they talked about us on the desk. I think we were 4-1 going into the final game of week 2, and then we lost like 13 in a row. It was some ungodly shit, dude. Like,
oh my god,
it was no wonder literally go watch. It wasn't. It was Digon watch. I was like, yo, put me on the list. Like, I'm on the list, guys.
Yeah, that was. They literally just won because they're like, oh, definitely can play. Like, let's play some Heimer fiddle, and they played a bunch of Heimerdinger, and they're like, holy shit, this shit's really OP. And then they started banning Heimer. Boom, team never won a game again. And then all the players got kicked the next year.
Mickey's Talon as well was the good time. That was when Smite was mid, and he was just like, give me farm. And Juanito, poor Juanito, man. Those were the good times. The end of the good times.
Chilling at Academy.
Yeah. Now he gets a lot of the great gear from the great organization that does a lot of great things in esports and pushing things forward. That's 100 Thieves. They do a lot of great stuff.
Man, I don't know why the community likes this whole like. What is this? Why was there no hate on the academy team or the amateur team that they released?
Yeah,
why? Where was the hate? I wanted to see more hate there.
100 Thieves next. Like, who are these guys?
And then that's exactly what like NA needs. Like more teams to invest into amateur. I think our amateur scene is so fucking shitty, and everything below LCS.
So you're gonna invest in auto. You're going to invest in Auto, the player that was on Academy for 2 years?
I'd rather invest in Auto and 4 amateur players than not invest into any players at all. I actually think the direction they're going is completely correct.
100 Thieves next. 100 Thieves next looks like Golden Guardians. Like, except instead of doing it at LCS, they're doing it like two rungs below. Like, that's basically what happened. Otto is your high. He's going to shepherd these young NA talent to become great, and he's going to let them know how it goes. And that's I don't mind the idea. It's just the reason why people don't do that is because it costs money to do that. What are you giving these players? Like, what are you giving people? Like, Radiance did that for last year when I was a part of Radiance, and we had the best amateur team bar none. We shit on the college teams. We shit on everybody. And then what happened?
Why is it?
No, and what if it? Because you're not an LCS Thorg, you can't protect your assets. 100 Thieves is an LCS Thorg, so they can easily protect their assets. TSM is an LCS Thorg. They did that with Johnson, and they protected their asset, and they got paid from Dignitas for doing it. So it's completely different comparing it to Radiance, where you guys have no contractual power over your players. 100 Thieves and TSM, they do, and they're getting rewarded.
I just don't even think so. Why do you view the amateur scene so valuable in NA? Because we don't have like good amateur leagues or anything. So like, what is the point of having like an amateur team?
So
just so
the
you can
thing
get
is-
paid. Just
no,
so
no,
you can get paid.
No.
because our amateur level is so bad, it leads into our academy being bad, and because our academy is bad, it leads into our LCS being bad. It's really hard to develop talent over solo queue, and we need to nurture them from when they're younger and actually give them opportunities and actually give them environments where they're learning teamwork, they're learning base macro. Like, I mean, TF Blade, Tarzan, like all these you guys talk about how shitty our solo queue is all the fucking time. Like, it's so incredibly hard for players to get good in solo queue. So I think it's really crucial, like, we're nurturing them before they get ruined by our own solo queue.
And the why to me, Dom, is because Riot is now investing in that scene, right?
Are they actually investing in amateur scene? What are they doing for amateur scene?
They're sponsoring and giving the spotlight and assets to the Faceit amateur leagues that are going to be running like circuit round, I think, in summer. So like with Riot now, Riot NA making a shift to focus on the North American talent pool. 100 Thieves is first to market now with their 100TX or whatever it's called.
I'll also spill a little. So Riot and most of the teams have been talking, and they aren't completely happy with how Academy was and how our amateur below that was. So the first active step that was taken was more active Academy matches on LCS stage. And I heard there's going to be more steps made regarding amateur and regarding academy to get it better, like more active investment from Riot.
I just feel like it'd be so hard to like find any drive to play academy or amateur right now. Like even if you look at like people like Johnson, right? Like he didn't play academy or amateur. He played 4 games of academy. Like at the end, like when there was visa issues or like whatever, like Treats was somewhere else, or the team was like disbanding and Greg was playing top. Like it was some weird like I don't know, man. I feel like for a lot of people they have the same mentality. It's like LCS or McDonald's. Like those are the 2 options.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
But I don't think that like I don't think that you're gonna like find any hope in this amateur scene unless they start having fucking national leagues or something like that. Like some type of thing where it's like, hey, there's like these are leagues with viewership that people care about, that are live, that like are invested in. Like that's that.
No, Dom. The big difference that I think. Not that you forget, because I don't know if you experienced it in such a long time. It's that you are the 1% of 1% of 1% that have had not only a pro career, but a long-lasting career at the highest level, right? You and Loco. Whereas a lot of these kids coming up, they're new. They need a place to aspire to, and not every kid is going to be the guy that jumps right on up straight into LCS. There needs to be a process there. Not every kid is LeBron coming straight out of high school and going in, or Zion that's going to do 1 year. There still needs to be a process. That's why you find all these amateur leagues in pro sports that, build up. You have the G League in the NBA, you have the minor leagues in baseball. There is no infrastructure for that. And so the owners are saying, there's no infrastructure. We got to build that. Otherwise, what are we doing? We're just going to go to Worlds and get shellacked every time. And that's why they're building it. There are a lot of kids that just don't have somewhere to go or don't even know where to go other than that. And that's what's being built right now, the space in between McDonald's and LCS.
Also, the academy is being filled more and more with former LCS players. So for true amateur players, they have less and less places to go. So like this amateur scene is really fucking important for us to invest in, because if not, like we're not going to get influx of new talent. Like we're in a situation where we got 1 rookie in a split. Like it can get worse, and we're going to have 0 rookies for maybe the entire year if you're not investing.
I'm just trying to view it from like the perspective of if I was an academy player, or like if I was like one of those players and my option was like, hey, could I play like in whatever new amateur league there is, or could I go to like Korea for a year, or could I go to fucking Europe and like try to get high on their solo queue ladder and try to get into like their system? Like I would almost always take anything over like trying to play this new NA amateur scene just because of like the mentality around it.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. We need to change that mentality from when you're left with that decision, you actively pick NA amateur because it is good enough, because you will develop enough. That's the long term. So right now, people would rather go solo queue in Europe. People would rather go solo queue in Korea. We need to shift the needle so where people would rather go play in NA amateur.
I still feel like we're talking about a smaller subset of people, a very, very small subset of people that are that good, 1, and 2, are willing to put themselves in that much discomfort and travel out there as a path. Like that has been now trailblazed as a path, something that you can do. You can go to Korea, do the solo queue ladder thing, and then come back. Like a lot of pros have done that, or pros that, got bounced from a team and then spent a year. So what was like Gate, Froggen, a couple Keith, they all did that for a year after Echo Fox. now this path will be built, and now it's showing people, hey, this can work as well. It just takes a team, several teams, one success story to show this does work, and 100 Thieves is taking the first step.
Riot would have to take, like, I feel like Riot would need to be the one that like actually puts like something exciting for the, like, they have to put something where it's like, yeah, this shit is like worth a lot of money or something.
Let's talk less about this. We can go back to Golden Guardians.
Well, no, that's why we're talking about this. Golden Guardians in the amateur scene. We're just, we're basically have to bring down the level to where it's at. Golden Guardians 0-2.
Yeah.
Keith is actually all that bad that I imagine. He has no idea what he needs to be doing. He's hugging the wrong side of mid lane whenever they're 1-3 winning. He doesn't like Golden Guardians overall. Like, they don't understand what they need to be doing as a team. I think Haunter is a bright spot. I think Closer is a bright spot. I really do want to give credit to the players that are on shitty teams that are just like drowning with everyone. But yeah, this team looks pretty garbo.
I think Golden Glue looked better than I thought.
Golden Glue looked good.
I think their ball in is awful.
FBI looked bad. He in the last in that Fiesta game, he missed like 3 or 4 chains of corruptions in a row that would have changed the course of that game. And
dude, I don't know what it is about like NA Varus players, like people that play Varus in NA just can't hit the R for some reason, and it's such an easy ability to hit. But they're like, no, it's really hard for some reason. But like in other regions, it's just like, yeah, Varus R, like how can you miss? But we miss every single time. I don't get it.
People aren't proactive. Like, you get a very small window, and then you either have to take it. The longer you wait, the harder and harder it becomes. Like, when people are proactively dodging it and you're not shooting in that window as soon as you're in range, like, it's just much harder. I mean, NA Varus, NA Rengar, NA Jace, what other?
NA fucking Rise.
A lot of
NA Lucian is gonna be one, dude. I hate this solo lane Lucian. I know it works in scrims, but we can't fucking play that shit. No one that plays in NA can play that shit well, besides for maybe Huni.
NA Pike. NA player. That's all it is. It's just NA
player. Pike is garbage. Oh, God.
Okay.
What else is there? What else is there that just makes me cringe?
All right, let's play a game. Out of the 3 we have here, Golden Guardians, CLG, TSM, which one do you think is the most likely to not be in the bad next time we talk about them?
Most likely to not
be in the bad.
TSM.
Oh, yeah. TSM or Golden Guardians. I think CLG. I love
what you think Golden Guardians is going to be better than CLG?
I think Golden Guardians is just always going to be in the bad. They're going to be in the bad, but it's going to be like, hey, they don't look as bad as like we won't be as disappointed in them. Like they're bad, but we expect them to be bad.
Which is why I don't think they're going to be in the bad. We're not going to have the 1-1 next week. We're going to have the something else, the middle, and that's going to be where Golden Guardians. The not a surprise. That's where Golden Guardians is going to be. They're not going to be there.
It's like if you have like an 8-year-old that's competing in like a 12+ chess league, and they're getting shit on, but they're not getting shit on like as hard as you thought. It's like, hey, this kid has some potential. That's how I feel about Golden Guardians. It's like, oh, you know what? Like maybe when you grow up a little bit, you'll have a chance.
Oh man, CLG stocks are low. I'm thinking maybe this is the time to invest.
No.
It's like just like Ethereum. Oh my god, it's below 1,000. Can't go any lower. It can go to $50. Holy fuck, from 1,000 to $50.
Is it time? Like we've seen Dom double down already on CLG, except it was doubling down. That ruin is terrible. Are you doubling down on the Year of Crown, Loco? Is this it?
I think what if this is probably the worst showing they're ever gonna have, and what does it look like once they do start doing better? But to pick them over TSM also hurts me a lot. I mean, I will always believe in Bjergsen, and I will always believe in Andy and Parse. Kabe's also really good. It's just Dardoch and Broken Blade. Like, they have me a little bit scared. I don't know. I guess if I had to gun to my head, I would probably pick TSM, but CLG is a really strong contender for me in terms of getting out of the bad.
All right. Well, I guess we'll have to see who will be in the bad next week. Maybe we'll call the bad the ugly or something else. But either way, those are our breakdown of our teams after week 1. Almost done here. Got tweets of the week. Everyone's favorite. Bringing it back. Tweets of the week. We had some spicy ones after week 1. Touched on this one a little bit, but good friend of the show, Monte, kicking things off for us after the TSM Fiesta. How many weeks do you think Dardoch's mental boom was accelerated by winning the early game, but then losing to Team Liquid with a sub jungler?
I think this definitely does do a number on Josh. I think Josh is a ticking time bomb. And more weeks like this is going to actually do a damage to his mental.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely bad for Dardoch, but this is like the test. If he can get through it, then you're okay. Because for him, like I know that like he's never been like a smart late game shot caller, right? Like that was never his strength. He's always been good early game and he's good mechanics. So for him, it's like he's doing his job, but other people aren't doing what their job is supposed to be. It's
That's
supposed
always
to be like,
been the problem with Dardoch, though. It's not that he stops doing his job; it's other people aren't doing his job.
Exactly,
it drives him crazy.
That's my exact point. It's like he's doing that's why it's so scary. Is because he's doing what he should do, and these people aren't pulling their weight. So he must, because that's the most frustrating thing. It's like in solo queue. When you ever see me, if you ever watch my stream, I'm probably like, if you tune into my stream at any point, I'm probably complaining about solo queue. Most likely, what's happening is I'm doing well and my teammates are not doing well. And that is like the most frustrating feeling that you can experience in League. And like Dardoch, he's like Dardoch, I too have mental illness. So I just have to like let that out. So he's going to have to let that out too. And it's going to be on Biofrost. I'm telling you, dude, Biofrost is in the line of fire, man. He's going to get fucking railed in one of these scrim sets.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think it's going to be Broken Blade. Broken Blade is a lot more vertical.
No, dude. No, it's Biofrost is gonna get fucked, dude.
Just
he's
look
gonna
at
get
the
shit on.
personalities on this roster.
Wait. Last fucking episode, you're fucking telling me Biofrost is a champion. He's proven himself. Dardoch can't come at Biofrost like that. And now you're telling me he's gonna come at Biofrost. Broken Blade is the short one. Broken Blade is the one from a minor
short one. What does that matter?
They're a lot more vulnerable. If you're short, if you're on the shorter side, you're
no, but he's bigger. He's bigger than Dardoch. He looks like he could take Dardoch. Dude, Biofrost has that like nice like
home owner.
No, okay. Biofrost looks like Biofrost has that thing where he just like seems sensitive. That he has that like weakness in him where he wants to be a nice guy. That's like he wants to shy away. It's like, oh Dardoch, please don't yell at me. Like he's that type of person.
No, we talk about
Dardoch is gonna rail him.
I have never heard about Broken Daddy. It's all about that Bio Daddy. I think
you're so wrong here. You're so wrong. Biofrost is gonna get railed.
You don't know Josh like I do. He's gonna go for Broken Blade. He goes for the top lane. He doesn't touch the bot laners as much.
No. You're just biased because of Sam.
Sam.
Yeah, but Sam is the same way because Sam was like the nice guy. Sam was like the guy where it's like, please stop yelling at me, man. Like Broken Blade's gonna be like, bro, what are you doing? Like Broken Blade's not scared. He'll make that confrontation. Dardoch doesn't want that long confrontation. He wants the person that can just like he gonna just abuse, and Biofrost will just take that abuse.
Yeah, take the D. Don't.
Yeah, he's the support, dude. He's used to taking the D.
Okay, holy shit. I want the Vega sauce on. Who will Dardoch kill? Broken Blade or Biofrost?
It's gotta be Biofrost, bro.
I don't know.
It's gotta be Biofrost.
I just think Josh gets upset at such a visceral way that it has to be directed at Biofrost. He's like, I don't give a fuck about your accolades. He knows he can't yell at the boss. He doesn't want to yell at Kabe.
No, just wait. Just think about how you're sitting. You sit top, jungle, mid, AD carry support. He would have to yell all the way down past Bjergsen, past Kabe. Like it's much easier to yell at the person right next to you.
I don't know if you know this, but they like I know you haven't played like LCS ever, but like they actually use microphones in LCS, so you like you don't actually have to like go over there. Like, you can just talk into something and it like goes.
The headset gets thrown off. That's not how it works, Tom. You haven't worked with Dardoch enough. The headset gets thrown off in the first 10 seconds of the yelling match. Okay, you think he's yelling over the fucking microphone? You think he's going like, Sam, fuck you. No, the headset is fucking getting thrown out the fucking window the moment he gets pissed.
Bro, in fucking the team environments, they don't even sit that close. There might not even be a direct order. It could be a circle setup. You don't know.
In the new TSM facility, I'm sure they're gonna have it in order, okay?
Dude, I would be shitting my pants right now if I was Biofrost. As soon as I lost game 2, I would have just fucking ran off the stage.
I mean, if I'm Broken Blade, I'm buying pepper spray.
Nah.
Also, I think it's like Biofrost kind of like was the one that like started the throw. You know, like he was the one that tried to like flash Leona over engage. Like they started losing the game there. You know.
Dude, he gave him a few kills though. Biofrost literally put 2 kills on Peter on a platter for Dardoch. I think he bought a little bit of brownie points for that.
Nope.
All right.
You saw how many times Lorlo set up Dardoch. That shit didn't matter.
Hey man, I just want to touch
personality
while you bring that up. Lorlo, Samson, Lorlo, Jackson, 2-0 this week. Dig 4-0. So
I feel bad, man. I hung out with Sam
literally
recently. He's still recovering from that shit, bro. He's still recovering.
Literal 5 LCS players in academy, like stomping on kids. They're bullies on a playground. Like that's not an accomplishment.
Year of Lorlo.
Next.
Only 21 years old. Just throwing that out there.
Next.
All right. Taking a look at the next tweet that we got. Still going along with that game. Team Liquid now taking upon themselves to put some salt in the wounds. Did our win tonight look fun? Apply today and play on stage. And they got the TSM, the TSM position open. Photoshop's great, man. Entire LCS roster. Think what you got.
Dude, you should have caught the flame between me and Monte.
I could pull that up.
Oh shit.
But yeah, so TSM taking a lot of licks after going 0-2 and everybody loving it. Let me see if I can pull that one up. But yeah, thoughts on this one, guys?
I like the teams being more feisty. TSM, C9, and Team Liquid have always been close with each other, and now they're just showing that relationship also on Twitter by roasting the fuck out of each other.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think that the best teams also have the best social media. I think that's kind of good. Like Cloud9 TL, I think have the best social media in NA by far.
Dom, imagine you were running Golden Guardian social media. Like, what the fuck are you gonna say?
I mean, you just literally have to get permission to flame the fuck out of your own players. Like, that's it.
I mean,
like, you just need to like make your own players the ass of the joke. If that doesn't work, you're doomed.
I'm not sure that's gonna go down well in the social media meeting. So our social media strategy is to flame our own players as we lose to garner fans.
Can we flame Keith at least a little bit? Like just a little bit of flaming on Keith. That's all I'm asking for here.
All right, so deeper in there, we had a nice little joust between the two. There's Dom hopping on in, helping out TL a little bit, and then Monte coming on in, saying a couple of things. So you were going back and forth with Monte on this. Monte saying you made a pro career out of it. And then the back and forth cherry picking stats. What'd you think about all of this?
Oh well, so he said I'm cherry picking stats. I actually just cherry picked the most important games we played. So that was the cherry picking. I took playoffs in summer where I completely shit on his team. 7-7, yeah, we lost almost every game in spring, right? Like we lost almost every single game in spring. Like we were a dog shit team. And then in summer we got our shit together, and in the matches that mattered, quite literally summer only mattered. That wasn't like there wasn't any points or anything, and we knocked them out of playoffs and sent them to relegation. And then our B team almost beat them and knocked them out of the league completely. So it was rough.
In terms of fairness for coaches, if you're gonna take credit for when players do what you say, and you talk about like your team doing well, then you also have to take the blame for when players don't do what you tell them to do. Like that is part of coaching, like convincing your players to do stuff, or the lack of or the inability to convince players to do stuff.
Well, also I just think that it's like just a gross mischaracterization of like how I was as a player. Like I think that I was never like an AFK jungler. I was never a farm fucking jungler. Like that was just not how I played. Like I always was able to convert early kills. Like in summer split, which was in summer split of season 4, 2014, I had 23 first bloods out of 28 games. Like, damn. I'm literally fucking killing people the entire fucking like time. So it just is what it is. But I mean, I do actually think that Monte is overrated as a coach. Like, I don't think that he was a good coach. Like, you have a star-studded roster, season 4 Doublelift, season 4 Afrobu. Those are two of the best players in the league. They're by far the best bot lane. You have Link, who is more than serviceable, and then you got to handpick your Korean import top, and then you have a jungler that you handpicked from Europe that just went to Worlds the year before, and it got first and won the regular season, made it to finals. You get that jungler too, and you're not able to make it work. It's like, well, that's your job as a coach. Like your job is to make that roster work. You chose the players. Like your players, like your all-star fucking EU jungler got dicked by me in 20 minutes, 2 games in a row in playoffs. Like there's nothing to say there.
Out of all the things that Monte has done, coaching is probably his least successful, but I also don't think Monte was like as all in on coaching as he could have been. Like he split time between casting and coaching. Like, so It's a little bit weird for Monte to bring up coaching for me. I'm like, Monte, you're so successful in other avenues. Like, why bring up coaching? You weren't even all in about it. And it wasn't, it's probably the weakest part of your career too.
Well, I think that's that, but then it's also like you have to look at when the teams went to Korea, right? Like when CLG went to Korea, they came back worse. So like when like it was supposed to be like, hey, now like Monte's been remote this whole time. Now the whole team's going to Korea, and we're gonna see what 1 month of Korea boot camp. Like you get to scrim versus the best teams in the world, and you have your coach there all the time. Let's see how good they get. And they literally came back worse. They left as a team that was at the top of the table. They were supposed to fucking obliterate us in playoffs. Like it wasn't even fucking close to predictions. It was like, so do you think that CLG is gonna win this series 3-0 or 3-1 when they play Curse? Like that was what the fucking talk was. And then we just hard 3-0'd them. Like shit on them, get the fuck out of here. We destroyed their mental so hard. They lost to Dignitas the week after, and they almost lost to our fucking B team. So like I don't know, man. It's a little
Oh,
it's a
that
little
was the bunny foo fresh hook. Then
yeah,
yes,
yes.
Yep.
That was them almost getting relegated. They reverse swept Curse Academy to stay in the league. So I mean, it is what it is. Like Monte and I have never seen eye to eye when it came to the game. I mean, there was originally like I used to have beef with Thorin and Monte because of just like the way that they would talk about like my team and like Void Boy during Summoning Insight at that point. So shitting on them was really nice because obviously they both predicted my team to lose, and then like yeah, I just thought we were gonna win.
Didn't they invite you on right after that on the show or something?
Yep. Yeah. And I got to just talk to their face. It's like, all right, so tell me again why my team sucks. Yeah, you want to tell me like I just want to know. Oh, I'm gonna get out jungled by Dexter. Oh, really? Didn't happen.
I remember this vividly because this was the last time I got to wear this and use this. After this, now it's just a relic that sits in there next to the Golden Guardians jersey to remember my my League of Legends journey. I remember that vividly. I was like, man, I can't wait to shit on fucking Curse. Like, who the fuck is Cop? Like, we fucking got this. Yeah, Monty high-minded. Then I was like, oh my god, I'm so butthurt.
CLG were always just oversold.
Yeah. No, and the thing that was the best was like my team was actually bad at that point too. Like we were a bad team and we still won.
I mean, the only time where I guess to be fair, the only time it wasn't oversold was the back-to-back, right? When they made
the double left. Yeah.
So that was an awesome time to be a CLG fan, and I really wanted Monty to find success, but that was such a big move, and then for it to backfire like super sucked. That sucked. Anyway, just a little bit of good tweets back and forth there. Let's get a wholesome one in here. Cloud9 hopping on in and having some fun. Join their Discord, but Mateus does a great job here with with everything that he does. TSM and TL, the monkeys around everyone else doing well.
I mean, Jesus Christ. I just don't know if 100 Thieves can be characterized as not one of the monkeys after what I watched.
That's like a advanced caveman from what I see. He has like a bone in his hair.
Yeah. It's
he looks less developed than the other guys.
Yeah.
I didn't actually get to watch this episode of Simpsons.
And then last one, and we'll probably spend some time because this one broke the internet. Dom couldn't help himself. I was watching your stream after we pulled up your career stats, 86 and 87, by the way, in competitive matches.
Yeah.
But watching Ruin come on in and play in the top lane, would like to extend an apology to Ruin and CLG. After watching that last game, it appears that I was incorrect by accusing him of trolling in my solo queue game. I am now aware of the fact that he simply just plays like that. And this broke the internet. You had almost 20,000 likes. Why?
Hey, man.
And you like
just how I
fired
saw
it
it
off. You didn't even like. You're like.
Yeah, I didn't plan it, dude. We just fucking freestyled that one. I don't know. Those are the best ones though. Those are the ones that always pop off or when it just like comes to you. If you try to plan it too much, it never does well.
Oh my god, poor Ruin.
Whatever. I mean, look, this is look. The thing is, look, dude, this is what it is. Like you're the one that literally.
Whatever.
Well, the thing is, no, because the way I view it is this: like you inted in my solo queue game, so I'm gonna talk shit about you. Like I don't respect you as a person anymore, so now I don't care about your feelings. Like I don't care if you are gonna waste my fucking time. Like I'm doing with Johnson, the guy that shit on you, by the way. Yeah, I'm doing with that guy, and you literally picked Teemo support for an LCS AD carry that's about to dick you next week, and you just go 0-6 in the game. It's like I don't give a fuck. Like I'm gonna use you for content. Like this is fucking content for me. Like that's what my Twitter's for. So it is what it is, man.
Well,
it's just what it is.
Ripperoni CLG. I'm not out on you yet. Not just yet.
Oh, I'm pretty low on CLG now. I'm pretty low on CLG. I don't like. Oh man, it just when I see the team, I'm like, how are they gonna fucking get wins? with this
What?
team. Like Wiggly has to like play fucking better. Like Wiggly just has to play better, and he's the one that I feel like is playing like the worst.
I think
That scares me a lot. I thought he was the
for-
best player last year.
For majority of summer, I felt like CLG was the third best team, and Clutch really caught up towards the end.
Yeah.
I
agree.
think they could definitely find wins, and I think they'll easily be a playoff.
No. I mean, how are they gonna like? Oh, you think they're easily gonna be a playoff team? I don't.
Yeah.
I'm like really like scared for this team now.
It's week 1.
Yeah,
And they have so little practice, and they have crown over fire people.
I don't care about that. I care about Wiggly. I'm scared for Wiggly.
You think he's gonna be worse than he was last year?
Yes, I don't think that because I thought that last year he was like top 3 in summer. Like he was one of the best junglers in the league.
People were talking about him as MVP. I thought that was crazy, but yeah, he was really up there.
Yeah, so he was like top 3 jungler. I don't know if he's gonna be. I don't think he's gonna be top of the table here. Like I think that people like Blabber have surpassed him. Like I already thought that though. Like I already thought Blabber was gonna be better than him. But I think Blabber, Broxa,
Sven.
I think Sven. I think probably
Dardog
Grig.
probably.
Dardog probably. I think Grig can like be better than him. I don't know.
Oof. I think
I'm
Grig is where
really
you're pushing it. Let's see.
Yeah,
The other
I know
ones,
it's only
I agree with you. Grig is like the one where you're like, I think this is where it's a little bit wrong.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I like Grig played better than him last week though.
Okay. Oh, Closer. That's actually a good
Yeah,
one.
I think Closer is definitely better than him too. Yeah, so like when you look at it, it's like, damn, there's like 6 junglers that could be better than you. What about Meteos? Like Meteos could be better than him too. I mean, Meteos had a bad week, right? But like, he didn't have a Wiggly week.
Maybe it was an anomaly in summer, like him being that good, but he is on the younger end, and CLG didn't have practice. I'm just gonna save judgment until later, but I will agree the tweet was fire.
I think that for Wiggly specifically, this meta might be rough for him. Like if it stays like a super early game focused meta, I think Jarvan is like his best pick, right? Like I've always been really high on his Jarvan.
I thought his Rek'Sai was his best pick. He has like 2 champions that he's good on, and it's been like Rek'Sai, Sejuani, and then I guess Jarvan's a good third.
Yeah, I thought Jarvan was like his like insane pick for most of like when he was popping off at least. I just remember like a lot of like interesting pathing from him and like a lot of ganks he was able to perform. I don't know how his Lee Sin is, and I feel like the players that are going to really succeed right now, I feel like you need to have a clean Lee Sin. Like, so that's like why I'm a little bit lower on Meteos too. Like I don't think Meteos is going to be a top 3 jungler or like top 4. Like last year, I think I had Meteos top 3. I think that my top 4 were like Xmithy, Sven, Meteos, and Wiggly. I think now you're going to have like the people that have the clean Lee Sins. I think Greg has a pretty decent Lee Sin. Broxa has a good Lee Sin. Yeah, I think that Dardog has a solid Lee Sin. Blabber, I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll see. Again, reserving judgment because which are the big ones that you're gonna die on? Calling Wiggly like that far down. I'm with Loco on this camp. It kind of feels like the 100 Thieves saying, figuring out where 100 Thieves is.
So you guys both think Wiggly will be a top 5 jungler?
Yes.
This split. Okay.
I think it's a little early to say he's not going to be because he was last year. That's why.
I think he'll be like bottom 4 jungle. That's my interpretation. We'll have to see though.
We'll have to see.
Down with Wiggly, down with Xmithy.
Yeah. Well, I was already like scared for Wiggly a little bit.
Dom plays like one season of Twitch Rivals, shits on everyone. He's ready to take everybody down. You got an opportunity to get your win rate over the 50% mark. 86-87. You could have subbed on in today.
Did Twitch Rivals count towards official stats?
Hell no.
Well, wait. I'll show you.
Also, there's like a lot of like that's fucking such a weird thing because I don't know if I think that's only LCS, right?
Yeah. Did that count? No. It counted all of your competitive matches, 86 and 87. Your one win off.
I feel like I've played way more than that though. Like I played so many matches with Dignitas when I was like.
It's according to Leaguepedia, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Leaguepedia. So Leaguepedia has you at 86, 87 when I said show all matches, all career. So
I'd have to see who is like which games. Yeah, I'm surprised it's actually that close to 50% if it includes fucking Curse because. That was the thing. That was like going back to the Monte thing. That's why like we're supposed to get shit on, right?
Yeah.
Like we're a team that would make playoffs, and our win rate would be 11 wins, 17 losses. Yeah. We'd have starkly negative win rates, right? And then like we'd get like 3-0'd by fucking Cloud9 and like semis. Like we were not supposed to beat anyone, you know?
Yeah. Loco,
Coming in at 6 seed.
here's the answer to your question. You can look on the stream there. We go to North America, LCS, Academy. Oh, what's this here in Leaguepedia? Twitch Rivals. Twitch Rivals is about to be Leaguepedia certified here.
Holy
That does not make it official matches.
It does to me.
Okay.
All right, so hopefully I'll get you. I'll have some talks. I'll get you both invited back to play next time to get your win rate on up over the bar there, Dom. Any
Nice.
closing things here to close things out in our week 1 episode?
I mean, people going crazy. I know we had a lot of hot takes, but it's only week 1. Let's wait a little bit, okay? I think week 3 or like week 3, week 4 is where we really start seeing like momentum for teams like pick up, and we really know like, oh, this team's gonna be shit. This team's gonna be good. It's very rare to have teams like upturn like kind of the start they had. LCS has always been very predictable.
All right, I guess that's how we close it out. Any of you guys
Close it
playing Facecheck Bingo? Let me know how we did. 15
I haven't
minute
even
delay,
touched it.
Dad. It's pretty good. Shout outs to our graphics producer this time. Did a great job. TJ Puma. Give him a follow at let's see. I think it's at TJ _Puma. I want to make sure I get this right because he did a solid job there. TJ _Puma. If you guys have any graphics need, hit him up and he'll hook you guys up. So thank you guys.
Hell no,
Appreciate it. We'll catch you guys next week for Facecheck week 2. See ya.